We have guest speaker Ryan Carey from,
We have to approve the agenda first.
oh, yeah, yeah. That's okay.
We want to stay right here. So close, Steve.
But for public comment.
Oh, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
sorry,
Yeah.
yeah.
I want to comment on the attorney bills. I see in the board packet that the township looks like it has maybe $35,000 of unpaid invoices from Burkhart. Some of these are over a year old. I have no idea why he would wait so long to bill. But I've been collecting attorney invoices. And I did an analysis just to put this in perspective, so it's 35,000. From the time of 1999, when QuickBooks began, keeping track of attorney invoices and all other expenditures. From 1999 to 2022, the township were represented by the Bergman. Bergman Senior, I believe, passed in 2015, and then his son, John, who worked on behalf of the township till 2022. Over that 23-year period, the township paid $22,000 in attorney bills. From 22 to 24, the 2 years that Burkhart was your attorney, that bill spending went up to $77,267. I went through all the meeting minutes to try to understand what the spending was and how it's authorized, and I don't understand. I know that townships allow township supervisors to pick attorneys, but once an attorney is picked, any expenditures like this, especially $77,000, should come before the board. And the only expenditures I saw were to develop a marijuana ordinance for $1,500, and for Debbie, and I believe Debbie and maybe Steve, to attend mediation over the Padini matter. All other expenditures, now that you have O'Day, $4,314. This is what it looks like if you chart it. I have no idea what Burkhart did or how you can justify those kind of expenditures, but I would ask Burkhart to come here and explain them. Because I know at least 12,000 of that, I believe, or 10,000 of that was related to a FOIA non-disclosure that I brought against the township that we ended up settling. And during that time and the entire short-term rental, I never heard anything about authorizing lawsuits or how to respond to lawsuits. And this is something that needs to happen in an open format, in an open meeting. And I hope going forward that the township changes the burden of how this needs to be a township decision by the trustees, all the trustees. I don't know how it's going now, but I would question Burkhart on what he did under that's to justify the expenditure of $77,000, which is more than all the other spending over a 25-year, 26-year period. Thank you.
Any other public comment on the agenda? If not, we'll move on to guest speaker.
We gotta approve the agenda.
Oh, yeah, approve the agenda. There.
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
Support. We have a motion and support to approve the agenda. Any additions or corrections? I'd just like to add that resolution there, but that'll come under water system business. Do we have any other discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Now we'll get on to our guest speaker, Ryan Carey.
Right here.
I am Ryan Carey, community planner with QPAD. We just understand that the board had a couple of questions about the zoning ordinance update project. And I'm happy to answer whatever you'd like me to answer.
Okay.
Can we get context as a reminder, Steve? Like what?
Sure. Charles approached me in late November about what we could do to help update the zoning ordinance. I spoke to him once or twice and then came to the planning commission meeting in December and spoke with the planning commission. We identified a number of areas that we would look into in a zoning ordinance update. And I provided a scope of work then to the township with a cost assessment. Since Charles left and Brett came on, there was kind of a lapse there between any updates with that contract. So we're kind of just sitting on what we had presented and we haven't actually started yet.
And as part of that plan to decriminalize those violations, Ryan, have you had those discussions with the township as well?
Yes.
Okay, so you can prepare a set of non-misdemeanor.
Yep, municipal civil infractions.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
And can you do all the ordinances and resolutions, everything we need for that?
Yep, we'll walk you through everything. I'll be here the whole time, all the way up to adoption.
Okay,
And what about an enforcement framework? Can you manage
Right.
that part of that piece of it as well?
Yep, something we can work on is procedures for enforcement, so they're laid out in the ordinance or outside the ordinance as policy. That way they're more easily followable and repeatable.
It's my understanding, they talked about a map too, updating a map.
Yes,
Is that included or is that separate?
the scope I provided, they had two options. The first option was for text updates only. The second option was for a little bit higher price, but it requires me to rework the contract just a little bit. In the event that you would like to go for map updates, there might be some additional work we have to do. So that cost takes into fact that we'd have to go back and look at your master plan and frame the rezonings for that. And then do the additional GIS work associated with a map update.
Are there other local communities or jurisdictions that you've done this before that, we might be able to take a look at?
Sure.
Get a sense of how we might look when the dust settles?
Yes, the most recent one that we have adopted is in Felch Township in Dickinson County.
Okay.
I'm currently engaged with Altrain Township in Alger County and Bark River Township here in Delta for zoning ordinance updates. None of their information is publicly available yet, so.
But are they doing the enforcement as well?
Yeah, so municipal civil infractions came about more than 20 years ago, but in the light of greater enforcement and more townships taking it up, everybody's moving away from the criminal infractions towards this municipal civil infraction. Yeah.
and with that in mind, now our white ordinance also, the enforcement part of that needs updating. Is that something you can help us with too? Is that extra or?
Not necessarily. So what we would do is make sure that you're set with the municipal civil infraction approach and that it's laid out in the ordinance. In both, you need a municipal civil infraction ordinance and that it goes into the zoning ordinance. And you would use that same language to update your blight ordinance then.
Okay. Did the planning commission give you some direction yet on which way, what they want to see changed or what they want to keep?
We talked about several things. Short-term rentals was one. We were going to review for PA 233 solar wind battery storage ordinances, right to farm act and agricultural uses. And there's a number of other little things that I've identified so far. I'm not completely through my audit of the ordinance because like I said, I haven't really started the project yet. But we'll be exploring a number of things that I've done.
Or have any other questions?
When do you expect to have Felch in final form?
Felch has been adopted for.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
it.
yeah, once finished.
But you said it's not available publicly?
No, the Felch ordinance is.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, sorry.
Altrain
Uh,
and Bark River.
Yeah, Altrain and Bark River are the ones that currently.
Okay, so we can look online then, or Felch's ordinances on?
Yeah, Felch is available on its website and on our website as well.
Okay, yeah, great, appreciate it.
I don't have any other questions.
Right.
Are we able to make an amendment so we can do civil infractions before the entire? Before we have to wait for the new zoning to be done?
You could, a zoning ordinance adoption process takes approximately, is about 2 to 3 months, depending on how meetings fall. So if you have that kind of time and then you're expecting the amendments to take longer than I'd say 6 months or more, then you may want to do that upfront. We can start with that and then do the wider set of updates and amend again.
So yeah, we can either, if it takes 2 to 3 months, it's not too bad. I mean, unless you think we need to move forward, board thinks we need to move forward with getting civil infractions going, because as far as short-term rentals go, I can't really do anything without recourse. So we either wait until it's done or we make an amendment early to get it going. I'm okay with either.
I think that's probably a planning commission decision, don't you? Okay,
Is that something the board would get behind the back up if we did the civil infractions first? And if we do that, if we amend that to the zoning ordinance before we do the whole thing, those could go effective in 1 to 2 months. So what we're saying is this summer, we could be writing citations. Is that something the board wants us to do first? Is that the direction you guys want to go in for now? Get that over with before we do the whole thing over?
I think decriminalizing a handful of ordinances that are the most problematic,
Right.
and if we can take our time, I guess on the rest of the piece, in my view, makes some sense.
So you want us to go in that direction?
Yeah.
The first order, the first piece of business to start this, and you want us to work on that part?
Yeah, Brett's point is a good one.
Yeah,
It is.
I agree.
It's very
But
difficult.
I didn't realize that we could do that without having to read the whole.
Yeah, I didn't
That's something
either.
separate. So
But-
I'm glad
And
you brought that
again, a
up.
civil infraction is not a misdemeanor, so it's not, we're not going to criminal court, and actually, the zoning if it does go to court, if the person doesn't pay, the property owner doesn't pay the violation, you don't need an attorney, according to the MSU handbook. Actually, the zoning administrator can stand in court for that.
Mhm.
It's just done as
can a civil infraction like that be put on the property tax?
I'm not sure.
so it becomes, yes, it goes to just like a mediation with the judge to figure out. I believe if the judge puts it in default, then against the infract.
So once you got the
Yeah.
judgment from the judge, then it can go on their property tax. Okay.
But it's not automatic, it can't be built in that way.
No,
I think
yeah,
it
it's
depends
basically a ticket.
on the violation. If it can be put on property taxes or not, too, there might be some
Hopefully.
consideration.
And I'd like to add the blight ordinance in with that when we do it, so that it all gets done, because it'd make it a lot easier to enforce both ordinances. So maybe we could work on that part of it for both ordinances right away, and planning commission can still work on the zoning ordinance along with that.
Mhm.
But it's my understanding that the blight ordinance isn't included in the price we're paying them, because it's not part of the zoning ordinance, but we can use the verbiage off of that to create it.
Yeah.
So that wouldn't be that difficult to do, Steve.
I don't have a problem reviewing the blight ordinance for that kind of work.
And there are a couple of ordinances that have to be passed by the township board that would include enforcement for both ordinances.
Right.
It basically sets up the program.
Okay.
And we'd have to do that part, and then they'd have to change the zoning ordinance.
Why don't you, Steve, send me a list of questions and concerns and things like that, like me and Brett, and we can bring it up at the planning commission meeting and go over that. And do you plan on being on the next planning commission meeting?
Yep, I had it marked.
We have it marked to go there too. We can discuss that during the planning commission, and I can bring your ideas to Robert, to the commission then.
And if you had any concerns with the contract, we're very open, we're flexible, we're working with communities for that. If you'd like to move to something instead of a set rate, we move to a cost not to exceed an hourly rate or something like that. Totally doable as well.
So the contracts we have in front of us as an estimate, not physically in front of us, that we've reviewed historically, is for a full redo of the zoning ordinance, et cetera. But now if we add an amendments up front support plus that, maybe you need a costing just specifically for that piece.
Hard to say, it probably wouldn't be you would have additional costs in notices. and-
Publications, public
yeah,
hearings, stuff like that, yeah, okay.
But yeah, it wouldn't
It would be
affect the overall
amending
cost.
stuff you already are gonna plan on changing
Yeah.
later anyways,
Right.
ultimately, so, okay.
And I believe we approved the contract with the zoning maps. We took that option B.
Oh,
We took the
okay.
one- I think we
Okay.
approved it, we went with option B, which included the zoning map.
So,
Right.
so basically what we want is for them to move forward first with the
Citations.
citation of the
Civil
the
infraction.
ability to do that.
Mm.
And then do the rest of the zoning ordinance when that gets done. Is that what we're doing?
Sounds like it.
That's what it sounds like to me. That's what the
And then
board-
maybe one more thing, so with the software I have, Fetch GIS, it is difficult for me to see where districts begin and districts end. I can roughly estimate, for example, where R2 starts and it meets to RR. I can't see exactly where it meets, so it's kind of guesswork, so if someone wants to build a garage at point A, and it's kind of, I'm looking at the zoning map, I'm like, wow, it kind of looks like it's on R2, but it also kind of looks like it's on RR. It's difficult for me with Fetch GIS, so I don't know if there's an update we can have for that, it's just,
Right.
you know, so I can be
if we
exact.
do the maps, we'll make an accessible, a publicly accessible
Yeah, that'd
map
be,
for it.
yeah, that'd be awesome, and it would help the public too, obviously, it would help everybody.
And I've told Brett too that we have an internal zoning layer for Delta County. Because we do maintain the fetch, we don't put it up there because the fetch is inaccurate for some part. So Brett is welcome to ask me at any time where exactly a line falls, and we're able to provide that for him.
Thank you.
That's good to know, because I know, historically, working with the zoning map, that's been a complaint we've had for many, many years. It's difficult to identify the exact spot where one zone changes into another.
So part of our map work would be making a public version of that for you. Yeah.
That'd be good. Anything, any other questions?
We'll see you at the next meeting.
Okay.
Thanks, Ryan.
Thanks for your
Thank
time.
you.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Thank you. Next, we'll be opening up to a public hearing for C280s.
Motion,
Well,
yeah, I make a
I-
motion, we open.
Actually, I've got an overview first before we go to the public.
Oh,
hearing.
Okay,
I think, I think that's the way it
that'd
works.
be fine. Yeah,
Okay.
that's fine. You can- Yeah,
Would you like the
then,
PowerPoint right now?
Sure, yes, yeah.
Yeah, let's see if I.
So,
We're doing a PowerPoint before the public hearing, is that what you said?
yes,
Okay, it's,
is that,
it's behind you.
we're okay with it? Okay. So thank you for your time this evening. Honored to be here. My name is Tony Johnson. I'm a project manager with C2AE, a consulting firm that you've engaged to do a study of your water system, particularly related to lead impacted lines. With me tonight, I have Annalie. She's one of our engineers, and she is the engineer who has put together this project planning document we're talking about. So I actually have copies of these slides, if anybody would like them, either on the board. So if anybody wants the slide, Annalie's gonna walk around with those. And I also have a separate sign-in sheet, if I may, that we need to document this meeting. And we need everybody to sign that, including members of the board. If anybody has questions when we get to the public hearing, that you would like to ask at any point, whether you ask them during the public hearing or you just want a response, there's a spot on the sign-in sheet to write questions. And any written questions or questions that are asked tonight, we actually have to respond to you in writing, as well as talking about them tonight. It's all part of the process. So I'm going to give you a little bit of background first on what we've done to date before we get into the project planning document. So early last year, we were retained by the township to secure a grant. So this was all grant funded work to do a study on the water system to try and identify where lead impacted lines are located. So that was completed. We submitted through the township the necessary reporting to Eagle. Eagle's the regulatory authority, Energy Great Lakes and energy, something like that department. Used to be the DEQ. So that study was done last year. There was what's called potholing work, where some services were excavated with a vacuum truck to try and visually identify the service materials. That, together with other records that the water system has, and through some extrapolation of data, we came to a conclusion as to how many service lines were impacted. So the next step in that process, that was, again, this is all still grant funded, is to develop a project plan. That project plan you have in front of you today, and that is a required document to send to Eagle to obtain loans or grant funding. So just make it very clear what we're here talking about tonight, and the public meeting that we'll have. This is not to approve a construction contract. This is just to review and approve this plan that goes to Eagle to be able to apply for funding for the township. So we're not asking for construction dollars tonight. We're just going through the steps necessary to be able to submit this plan to obtain as much funding as possible. So that's where we're at. So this, if you go actually back one slide for me. So tonight we're going to talk about the description of the issue, and that's the lead service lines and the alternatives that were considered, a description of the recommended alternative, including a capital cost. We're going to touch on the financing that will be proposed that will be part of the ask to Eagle to pay for any potential future construction work that you choose to do. And then we'll take a look at anticipated social and environmental impacts and mitigation methods. So from a real high perspective, the current township system is small, serves approximately 200 residents, and the rest of the residents are on private wells. Included in the slides or in the packet in the plan is an overview map that shows where the water system is. So item number one that I just introduced is the issues to be addressed. So currently Ford River Township is in full compliance with all standards for a public water utility system. There's no violations or non-compliance against the regulations. However, to maintain compliance with all of the required regulations, the township is required to replace all lead impacted service lines. So two alternatives were evaluated through the project plan. First alternative was no action, and that's where the lead service lines would not be replaced, and that would result in violation of regulations. The second alternative was replace the lead service lines. This would allow the township to remain in compliance with the lead service line requirements, while also updating some infrastructure, hopefully leading to fewer problems in the future. So the recommended alternative is number two, where we would recommending that this study would be looking for funding sources to replace impacted lines. All design work will be done in accordance with Eagle and local standards. This work would allow the township to replace services that are suspected of containing lead. That could be a lead gooseneck, that's the attachment to the water main itself. Could be an actual physical lead pipe running partially or completely the way to the house. Could be lead joints, or if there is galvanized pipes that were previously connected to lead. So there may have been a water main replacement at some point in time. Galvanized pipes, if there was a lead connection to the main originally, which is now being replaced, that galvanized pipe still needs to be replaced because the inside of a galvanized pipe can hold on to lead particles. So these are the requirements through the EPA. So there were a total 111 lead impacted lines that were identified through this study that we did last year to complete the distribution system materials inventory. So as I said, all lead service lines or lines suspected of containing lead need to be replaced to comply with state and federal safe drinking water requirements. So the recommended alternative costing is shown here in table 5 of the project plan. There's a construction cost of just over 1.665 million. There's a provision in there for some administration, legal, bonding and other costs. There's engineering costs of $272,000 and contingencies, which are always needed through a construction project to account for things that come up of $98,000. So this initial estimate of the cost, if all 111 lines need to be replaced, is just over $2 million, $2,054,000. So table 6 then breaks that down as required. We're anticipating a 40-year loan from Eagle. That's the assumptions that we've got built into this project plan at an anticipated interest rate of 2%. That boils down to a rate per user of $31.86 per month over that 40-year period. It's certainly a lot of money, but this is a requirement from the regulatory authorities. This has to be addressed, and this project plan, as I mentioned earlier, is a way to submit to get this financing, and perhaps depending on what's available, there's an opportunity that some of this this loan might be forgiven, or terms or interest rates could be adjusted. So this is just a preliminary first look at what those costs might be. All right, so the final step of the presentation today, or reviewing this plan, and I'll just pause here for a second. Anybody who wanted a copy of the slides, be able to get those, and you've got sign-in sheets going around. Remember, if you've got questions, whether you ask them tonight or not, if you could just fill those in on that sign-in sheet, and hopefully they make it up here at some point too. All right, so anticipated impacts. We've evaluated some impacts on the system from this, what would be a construction project. As we're dealing with service lines to an individual house, these are already in place, so the construction activities would all be taking place in previously disturbed land. I'm going to fly through these pretty quickly. So the next one is direct impacts from a social and economic perspective. There'll be short-term economic benefits to the area from construction, employment, and material supply. We're not anticipating any relocations of residences or businesses. There's no long-term human, social, and economic impacts. Long-term social and economic, human, social and economic impacts will be positive through increased reliability and capacity in the infrastructure. And there's also some emotional benefits that can be achieved here through reducing anxiety of what your service lines materials are, and improving overall quality of health and life. From a construction and operational perspective, the anticipated impacts, construction is going to be relatively short term, so not expecting anything unusual there. Construction dust, we're going to minimize through watering or other ways of minimizing dust. There'll be overall improvements to the operation and maintenance of the system as a result of this. Indirect impacts, from a development perspective, the project will take place in previously disturbed areas, as I said, so there should not be any change to the density or type of land use. We're not anticipating any air quality changes resulting from the work. Anything during construction is going to be minimal to non-existent. From a natural areas and sensitive features perspective, there should be no impact on these, on the environment, and mitigation will be taken during the design process to ensure that there are no impacts to the environment. Indirect impacts, that's where we're at. This work is not anticipated to spur any additional kind of growth or expansion. This is simply just updating and replacing the service lines to an individual house. There's no ongoing issues with aesthetics. So we're simply doing some underground work, which will be restored back to its previous state at the completion of the work. Resource consumption, there will be some resources from the construction process, the pipes and some fuel and other operating consumables for the construction. But that would be fairly minimal and limited to just the construction period. So finally, here, cumulative impacts. The project will be conducted in previously disturbed areas such as residential lawns, as we mentioned. Because of this, there's only minor cumulative impacts on the environment. It is anticipated that there will be not be any environmental impacts after construction is completed. On the positive side, because we're replacing aging infrastructure, there should also be a reduction in leaks in the old services. That should help to create some economy with the existing water through replacing those old lines which are subject to breaks or cracks. So there's no adverse impacts due to the installation of the recommended improvements. And then mitigation measures will be implemented where necessary. Costs for these mitigation measures will be included in our analysis of cost. And mitigation measures needed during construction will be included in the construction contract documents. I will leave it there in the interest of time. There is a bit of a description of what some mitigation measures may look like in the short and long term. And the information's all in the project plan and included in the slides, if anybody's interested in taking a look at those. So at this point, unless anybody wanted me to go into any further detail, I think we are ready to open up for public comment.
Okay.
I make a motion to open the public hearing.
I'll second.
I need a roll call vote. Jane,
Yes.
Amanda.
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
Debbie, yes, Steve,
Yes.
there you go.
All right. Do you want me to lead this or you?
You go ahead.
Okay. You're all members of the public as well, so I would take questions from anybody in the audience or any of the board members as to the project plan as I just outlined. Yes, sir.
One question, as far as testing, was water tested? Like when you determined, I think 111 lines, service lines had some association with lead.
Right.
Was there testing at the source for what lead levels were coming out of?
Non-detects.
Pardon?
I took 5 2 years ago and 5 last year, and they all come back as non-detect,
Okay,
which is the state requires you to replace it. EPA nationwide requires, if you can monitor your levels, they don't need replacement, but Michigan says otherwise.
and that's pretty recent, that's all because of Flint.
And the 111 is actually, we're not 100% sure. Anything that is unknown, we consider lead because a higher number may help with grants.
Oh, grants. What percent do you anticipate grant money will cover this?
Are you able to address that at all, Emily? Would you like me to? Okay, so typically, it would be, so first of all, it depends on the economic status of the community. And we've done a preliminary evaluation there. So there's a overburden or significantly overburdened status. So that first of all needs to be determined. Then that also impacts the duration of the loan and the interest rate that's available. And it can also then impact principal forgiveness. We do typically see 20% principal forgiveness on these types of loans, but it all depends on how this project is scored when it gets submitted. So I can't guarantee anything. I can't guarantee the term or the interest rate either. That's what this project plan does, is to help identify what those funding options are. And then the township can make a decision on how to move forward with those, with the funding package that might be offered. But to your first question, C2AE is part of our work. We did not do water sampling. Ours was a visual identification of the surface materials.
All right, thank you.
Did you happen to write those questions on some issue or not?
They came up through as you were discussing things.
Oh, Frederick,
Do you want me to, if you pass that back,
okay, that'd be great. Are we done with the sign sheet up
You
here?
must have more than one sign-in sheet.
Yes.
He's
Oh,
not.
we've got one here, okay. Fantastic. Any
I
other?
did have a question.
Yes.
How long of a period of time do we have to complete this project before they are supposed to be completed?
So that's, the current guidance from the EPA says all lead service impacted or lead impacted service lines have to be replaced by 2040.
2040?
Correct. So there's a 20-year period.
So we still have 15 years left.
However, I just heard tonight that might be changing to 2034. Now, that was a conversation that I heard tonight. Do you know any more on that? Okay. So I just heard that at dinner tonight with another one of our engineers. I can't confirm whether that change is true or not, but the official date that I know of right now is 2040. And did you happen to note that on there? Thank you very much, making my life easy. Yes, sir.
Question, how or when are we notified whether our property falls under the state's requirements?
Okay. If there hasn't already been a notification sent out, there will be a notification sent out to say that you were either included or not included in that 110 that need further investigation. So that will be coming soon, in the next month or so. Yes.
Got a couple of questions. You talked about loan forgiveness and so on here. I believe the city of Escanaba is going through a similar process.
Yes.
And I believe that they got grants of some kind. Are those like the same kind of grants?
Yes, so there's, the state has what's called the state revolving fund, which funds a lot of the sewer and water infrastructure projects. So to obtain funding from the state, there's other funding sources. You can apply federal grants and all that, but it's the first step in Michigan State to apply for the state revolving fund financing. And yes, the city of Escanaba was going through that process.
Do you know the percentage of their cost that was covered through grants?
I do not, unfortunately. But that's a question, so we'll find that out. If you can possibly have that to the signing sheet, so I know who to respond to.
Can you also clarify what actually occurs when you replace this? I mean, obviously from the line to a point, but does it go all the way to the home?
Okay, so that's gonna be on somewhat of a case-by-case basis. So, first of all, as Troy said, we need to, if your house was not one of the ones that was investigated previously, then there may have been some assumptions or some records that led us to a conclusion. If you're on one of those 111. So the first step would be, when it comes to your house to do the construction activity, there'll be some excavation done. And if copper pipe is found or plastic pipe is found, then it would probably be, okay, that was a bad assumption, you're good. If lead or galvanized pipe is found, then we would work backwards to identify the extent of that. So they would look, first of all, there's a valve on your property line called the curb stop. So that would be excavated, and that gives us an idea on pipe materials. They would look inside your house, cold space, whatever, where the water meter is, and identify what the material is there. So hopefully we know at either end. Hopefully they match. But the net result to answer your specific question is only the service materials that are lead impacted would be replaced. So copper is not going to be replaced. Even if there was lead or galvanized on the supply side of the private copper line, the copper does not hold the lead particles. So there's no need to replace that, it simply would flush itself. So we're gonna replace lead for certain, that could be the attachment to the main, could be a lead pipe. If they exist, and if there's suspicion that there may have been lead at some point in time to galvanize, that would be replaced. But it would only be replaced until the point that we know it's good quality plastic or copper pipe. And if that has to go all the way to the house, that's what happens, and all of the costs for replacing that all the way to the water meter would be taken care of.
Sorry, one more question.
Sure.
How long should we expect for like an outage? Of our water service, assuming it needs to be replaced at some point.
Okay, that one I am gonna ask Normally to address, but she's currently on a project in Escanaba doing this very same work.
So, from what I've experienced, at most a day, they'll do it more likely in a few hours. They do it until you have water, so if something happens, and for some reason they can't do it, they'll make sure you have water.
Sorry, one more question. So we were involved in the issue recently with water service. How do you know that after you've done the replacement, the water is good again? Because it took several days to make sure that the water system was working properly. How do you ensure that everything's good after the replacement?
Are you talking about the boil water?
Yeah.
Notice? So the boil water setup, I had to get 3 clean bacteriological results, 24 hours apart. Well, 6 of them 24 hours apart. So the first set, I get 1 clean one. Then, and a lot of these sampling points aren't consistently sampled, so I don't know if it's someone's plumbing problem. So that's why I probably had a week of just trying to find good sampling points. And then once I found like, okay, then I had 2 clean ones and 1 would fail. At that point, we chlorinated the system. We got 3 clean ones. 24 hours later, we got another 3 clean ones. And then we took the chlorine off 2 or 3 days later, and then the town hall sampled every month, so I know that's clean. During that event, I sampled the town hall, opposite side of the system a few times, and it was clean every time. So that was telling me our source water was still clean, and something just with a non-chlorinated distribution system. I don't know, what's growing and kind of attached to those mains. And when it lost pressure, let's say there's a small leak somewhere. Well, when you have positive pressure on that pipe, it's all pushing out. But when I shut that main down and that went to negative pressure, if there potentially was a leak, well, now groundwater could have got into that pipe. And that's what was possibly turning those samples to positives. But we just continue the bacteriological sampling afterwards until you get enough clean and Eagle clears it.
Yeah, well, no complaints about what happened in
Here's
that
the
incident.
timeline.
I'm wondering why we don't have to worry about the same situation here.
Because that was a leak. That was a leak, this
Well,
won't
but
be a
you're
leak.
gonna be replacing several,
Oh,
and how do we ensure that, or why don't you have the same process? Somebody could make a mistake installing something, right, creatively, for example.
Do you want me to address that, Troy?
I mean, this was in the middle of winter and groundwater. Construction for lead will be in the summer. You can, yeah, you got something to add.
Well, yeah, so what you're talking about is a water main problem. The lead service lines tap into the main, so the water main will not be depressurized during this replacement. The main is able to be tapped under pressure, and there are valves along the way to your house. So the main doesn't get depressurized, so there's, well, you never say never, but there's really little chance that that the issue that I think you're referring to would be able to happen from replacing just a service line off the main.
Thank you.
You okay, Deidre?
Yes.
Okay.
I have a question about the cost, Tony. You said there's a possibility of a grant to make up for about 20% of the cost increase. Now, when does that take place? Will that be right up front so we'll know right away, or do we have to assume we're gonna be charging us $31.86 per month extra until we find out, or how does that situation gonna work?
Okay. So that is part of the funding proposal that Eagle will provide to you. So this project plan goes in, all of the communities that are submitting project plans will be ranked and scored and evaluated, and then an offer will come to the township. So you'll know right up front, is it 100% loan? Is there some principal forgiveness? What's your term? What's your interest rate? And from that, you can make a decision. Do you want to move forward? Or are you just going to figure out how to do this over the next 9 or 17 years, depending on the new ruling internally?
But so far, we don't have to push this cost onto our consumers, right? And $31 a month is what, there's just. That is a huge one.
Well, one thing we do have in 2028, our other loan we're paying off will be complete. I don't know what exactly how many dollars per month per customer that loan is costing us. We have to research that, and then that would offset some of this cost at least.
Could you even, I mean, as far as the timeline, we couldn't even get another loan while that other loan's active, right?
I believe you can.
Okay.
But yeah, yes. These loans are 30 or 40 years in duration. There's no reason you wouldn't be able to get another loan during that time. But yes, that would all be known upfront to me.
I guess I just want to make sure everybody here understands that this effect of this cost and what we're talking about only affects water customers. And that I don't know if everybody knows, but our water system, we have a system, a fund that just has for the water, and that only is funded by people who have the water. So if you have a well, this is not, we're not gonna be coming out and replacing lines, or the cost or whatever we're talking about with grants. It does not affect anybody that is not on the water system.
It's not taxpayer funded.
It's not taxpayer funded, it's water system based, so just so everybody understands that. It's not all the taxpayers of Fort River paying on this, it's just the water.
Any other questions that we can address? Yes, sir.
Yes, is there gonna be documentation on these new lines so they know what they have in the future?
I've been keeping notes on, even the past 4 years, that I've been keeping notes on anything, you know?
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, one other thing, is your full report available somewhere, because like the appendices of the report were not online?
So what was provided is the draft report. Part of the final report that goes to Eagle is all of those dependencies, which does include tonight's meeting, the minutes from the conversation, the sign-in sheets, our responses to the questions. So that will all be compiled. June 1 is the submission date. And then we will provide a copy to the township, and I assume the township would probably post that on their website, just like they did with the draft reports. So this is part of the process of producing that final report. That's all I have. If there's no other questions.
Awesome.
Anybody? I make a motion to close public hearing.
I'll second.
Roll call, Jane,
Yes.
Amanda,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
Debbie, yes. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Here's your,
Ah,
and then Mr. Wilson that asked a question, this must be on the other.
yes. Thank you very much. Thank you. You got yours.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Approval of the minutes of the March 17, 2025 meeting.
It's not very people.
I make a motion, we approve the minutes of March 17th, 2025.
Or,
Motion is support, any discussion? None? All in favor?
I,
Aye, all opposed? Approved. Consent agenda items, assessors report.
get the changes from the board of review.
As far as the actual costs,
Yeah, in other words, what parcels were impacted, what the change in value was.
there's a record of it, we don't physically provide it unless someone asks for it, but,
I think that would be instructive for the board to put out.
we put a copy of the minutes from the board of review, it's got all of that information in there. No one's ever asked for it before, but we could provide it.
Yeah, I'd like to see it just from a learning standpoint.
Okay.
So should we put it in a consent agenda item for next month or communications? Communications probably, right?
Whatever you think.
It's
You
not
have to
anything to approve.
There's
No,
nothing.
I would
we
like
can-
to
Okay.
see it circulated and.
Communications then.
It seems like it could come from the assessor as part of the assessor's report. In other words, these were the changes that the board reviewed, instead of just mentioning that we had a board review.
Perfect, you got it, okay.
See what happens.
Yeah, we can provide it, but it would be more than likely under communication, because there's nothing any other board can change or approve or disapprove of, so. Any other questions on the assessor? We can move on, fire report.
The fire report, it doesn't look like we're collecting very many of the,
It's mostly the car accidents.
right.
I don't have insurance information.
And what would it take to get insurance information?
You have to talk to fire chief about that. He writes up the incident report. We take it from there and do the billing.
Yeah, we can get it from them, but in the past, we were told that township cannot go do anything with the file any kind of reports or try, I think anything built or anything to the insurance companies.
Who told you that?
Township board.
I think it was that the clerk at that time didn't want to participate in that. I don't think it's that we can't. It's that they chose not to at that time.
My understanding.
Amanda,
is
can you answer that?
I don't have insurance company. Right.
I don't have any, I fully trust that that's what somebody said, I'm sure, the clerk at the time. I don't have any memory of it, but
I
don't
don't
see
see
why
why
we
we
can't.
billing an insurance company or at least contacting the insurance company.
Yeah, it seems like as a practice, we ought to be sending a bill to an insurance company. My understanding is that's part of the coverage and gets paid
And if
routinely.
they don't even know about it, they're not gonna pay it.
Right, yeah, exactly. How are we gonna? But
Wouldn't you
yeah,
send,
there's a lot of unpaid.
wouldn't you just send that to that person and they turn it into the insurance company?
They aren't turning it in though.
But they're still responsible.
They're not paying them, Jane.
I
That's
know,
his
but I'm
point.
saying that's, yeah.
If there's a different way we can collect, maybe we should go after it that way.
Yeah,
I mean, I called one on the phone in Green Bay, Wisconsin from a car accident. And she said, why am I being billed for this? I said, because it was your car accident that required the
Yeah.
fire department. And she said, well, good luck, because I'm not paying it. Okay,
I mean, there's no recourse if they're not property owners and all that.
Yeah, we built 14 fires in the last year and only 2 got paid.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I think we should start.
Well,
sending-
three.
Collect the
Okay, sorry.
insurance information at the time of the fire. And make sure a bill gets sent and if it doesn't get paid by insurance, we can follow up with the individual.
Agreed.
And there was one on here that was a fire, it was billable, but it doesn't indicate whether it was paid or not paid.
Okay, which one? I might have missed that.
That was
I tried to look.
December 2nd, 24. One vehicle rollover accident, it said billable.
Oh,
but
it got paid, but it's,
It did,
I mean,
okay.
no, I mean,
Okay.
it got billed but not paid.
not
I
paid.
should have put Mark, not paid by now. I kind of updated that quickly because it hasn't been done in a while, so I might have missed.
It's a busy report. Thank you.
On water system report. Water billing register.
When the, shut off, it is for not there.
Past 3 months. 3 months after,
Okay,
correct.
but then there's the winter moratorium, is that still?
That's done.
That's done, okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
In fact, I have, on the 1st of May, I have 3, I think, that are gonna get, if they don't get paid.
Okay, we haven't shut any off yet, we're not,
Well, yeah, we do have one shut off for non-payment, but that was before winter, and
okay,
it's still up.
but since the moratorium.
No, no, the ones that, when it was over with on April 1st, I sent shut off notices to 8, and they all paid.
Great. Yeah.
Right down to the day on one of them.
Anything else under water bill? We'll move on to financial reports.
Nothing notable on those from my perspective.
Payment of bills. We have cleanup certificates.
I just wanted you guys to be able to see them. That will be starting on May 1st. You already approved it all, but I just wanted to put a copy in.
Did you do that?
Oh, you did those? Jane, I'm sorry, Chief, I apologize, Jane, Deanna did.
Oh. They're very.
And they'll have the seal on them. The
Yeah.
Fall River Township seal will be on those as well. Cool.
And I'll leave your May 6th. I'll do the May 6th.
I'm sorry?
I'll do the May 6th.
Right.
Yep. I've got that.
I think that date's on there, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And
So
your
just so-
budgeting's on the website?
I'm sorry?
It's going on the website?
I believe it's on there
Facebook,
already,
and-
Jane.
Okay,
I'm not 100% sure on that. I know she was working on it.
okay. So we may want to put on like, Highland maybe, make copy, put it at the Highland and the Pub and Breezy if they'll have it,
For the,
for the, just this.
Yeah.
So that people are aware.
yeah, good idea.
Have we gotten through all 100 vouchers yet in a year?
No,
We'd like
it's
to.
200 too, by the way, I believe.
It says 100.
Oh, is it 100? I was thinking 200. But, just so everybody knows, property owners in Fort River Township can get a $25 landfill certificate to clean up your yards and take your garbage to the landfill, and the township pays for it. We do that every spring, so it starts on May 1st. You just come into the office here and pick up a certificate. You can get, if you have 2 pieces of property, you can get up to 2, but you have to have 2 tax statements to be able to qualify for 2. If you have 4 pieces of property, you still only get 2. But it's what we started doing, 3 or 4 years ago with some of our COVID money to give it back to the community. So we still do that. And then also, has anybody heard from UPCO if they're gonna do a pickup this year? Steve?
I haven't heard anything
Maybe you could
official, but he did
Give
say
them a
it was.
call, because refrigerators and appliances are expensive to take to landfill. But you can bring them here if UPCO does a pickup here and get rid of your old appliances. And in fact, they actually, as long as you're an UPCO customer, they pay you to take them, so. I think they give you like $50 or something, I'm not sure.
I do believe UPCO will too, if you call them, if you go on their website, you set it up, when they're in your area, they'll pick it up, they'll go come. to your home and
Outside
pick
of
it
that,
up,
okay,
Yeah,
And you still will get the
Pick 'em up.
certificate.
okay,
With
Yeah, cool.
25 or 50 off, so they will come to the home also.
Oh,
They did
that's
say
not
the
yet.
last two they did here were very successful. Last year, they actually had to bring in an extra truck to load up
Yeah,
appliances, so it's. We're hoping it'll cure people from wanting to throw them out in the woods or whatever.
it's trying to look, but
Okay, that's all under consent agenda items. We have a motion and order to approve all consent agenda items.
One second.
Any discussion? If not, all in favor? Aye, all opposed? Consent agenda is approved. On 10, item 10, communications. Planning Commission meeting minutes from March 5, 2025.
March 12th, 2025.
Or, that's right, it was,
Oh,
the
it
date
was
was
changed.
changed, yeah. Because of the weather. And we have Delta County Clerks Association meeting, March 6, 2025.
and April as well.
And April 10th, 2025. Zoning Administrator's report for March 2025.
Yeah, I met with QPAD with Ryan as we discussed. We had one blight letter sent, junk letter sent out. Do I say the name of the person? For blight section 3, zoning 409, 3 campers are being stored on the property and there's only one allowed. We had a special use permit sent over for a pole barn in R2 and the microbrewery contacted about putting up a fence for an outdoor service area.
State of Michigan of licensing and regulatory affairs for null winemaker license. Me notice of a regular meeting of the Central Upper Peninsula Materials Management Planning Committee. We have Delta County Board of Commissioners notice of intent to prepare the Delta County Master Plan. Virtual meeting with Eagle. Item H, retirement letter from Attorney Burkhardt. Move on to fire department business.
All right, I was here last month, we got called right before the meeting there, we got called for fire, so just a couple things, February, we had one call, it was non-billable. March, we had 2 calls, one billable, one non-billable. Update, it's been an embezzlement thing, there was basically a court, hearing. Jane was that was back in, I think that would have been back in, February. Yeah, February, end of February. Anyway, he pled guilty to, a lesser charge, $20,000 or more, but less than 50,000. And the sentencing date was set for April 28th. Part of the plea agreement was if he pays back the full 70,000, that he pled guilty to taking, that the prosecutor would recommend a maximum 3-month jail time. If he does not pay back 70,000 by April 28th, then basically that comes off the table, but then he still basically just the sentencing would be based off of what he pled guilty to, which was the lesser charge, which I believe he can get maximum, I think it was 10 years. So that's coming up next Monday. That's through 3:30, I believe, in the afternoon at the courthouse for a sentencing date. I haven't heard anything as far as if he paid anything yet, or if he'll pay it right that, you know, leading up to that day or what, but that's all I have on that right now. We had one member, Dustin LeVake, he stepped down due to some medical reasons. He's gonna need a couple of surgeries coming up in the next couple of years, so he stepped down. He'd been on the department for quite a while, so. I am responding the app that we joined on to 2 years ago or a year and a half ago. Basically, we signed into a 3-year agreement on that. It's $305 a year. The last one we paid was November, I think it was November, or it was either billed November, paid in December, but it was 2023. June of 2024, Delta County, part of the dispatch, they switched over from what they had to I am responding for the whole county. And part of their agreement when they signed on I am responding was that the townships that were joined, that were all part of it as individuals, basically they're supposed to get a prorated amount back for what they paid. So I just wanted to give it in for information. You may see a reimbursement check coming from I am responding. I know one of the departments that they just got theirs like last week. So if you see an I am responding reimbursement check, it basically just, we won't have to pay that fee anymore. It's gonna be paid by the county. Because pretty much all fire departments, all EMS agencies, all are part of this I am responding now through the county. The county's paying that. So we won't get another bill for that. Like I said, we should see some sort. Being it was billed November 24, I'm guessing it should be about a half a year's prorated reimbursement of what I think we should do, which would be $450. So it won't be much, but we won't have to worry about paying that in the future because the county is covering that also. I applied for the Hannibal 2% grant end of March that was due. So they're waiting to hear on that. Pancake breakfast is coming up Sunday, April 27th, which is this coming Sunday, 8 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. at the Highland. Last thing I have is we have 6 thermal imaging cameras, individual, basically, so the guys can take them in with them. We've had them for quite a few years now. We're having issues with them not holding a charge anymore. So I reached out to our distributor. They can replace the batteries. We send them in, they replace them. The quote that he gave me was $85 a piece. We have 6 of them, so that'd be roughly about $510. That was including shipping. We did try, I guess I'm looking for permission or approval to send those out if we need to. I did purchase one battery. We did take one apart. The battery does disconnect from them. I found a battery that looks similar with all the specs. It was like $8 or $9. So we're gonna try that, but we won't know if it works yet. If it does work and we can get those, then we're gonna just change them ourselves, and it only costs a fraction of maybe, you know. So I guess I don't, but we kind of looked around and it's real hard to find those batteries, so if this battery that we got doesn't work, I don't know if we're gonna be able to fix it ourselves, because I even reached out to the company itself and asked them if we could get the batteries from them, and they said you'd have to send them in. So I think that's their way of kind of forcing people to send them in to get maintenance on them or whatever, but we've had them quite a few years and they've held up pretty good, so I think it's definitely worth it. to get them repaired or get the battery replaced on them, so.
So regardless of if you are able to do a reduced cost ones, if we make a motion to approve the high cost, it'll be less than that.
Right.
At the worst, yeah.
But all 6 of them are gonna be sent in at once?
No, we'll probably do half of them at a time, cause they turn on, but they don't last very long, right now, so,
And they were probably bought as a batch of cameras,
yeah.
so they're probably,
Yeah, we bought them all around the same time, right at the same time, so.
What does it cost to replace a camera?
I think those are about $900. Well, it was when we purchased them, I think, where they were like $800 or $900, 800 or 900.
Would it be beneficial to send in half of them and see how it turns out before you do the other half?
Yeah.
Before we approve the other half, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, if the company is repairing them, I don't see why, I mean, there should be some kind of a warranty or whatever on their replacement, you know, but yeah, we would send half of them out and then, I don't know, the time frame. I think they had set a time frame of like a week or two to get them back or something, so.
are you saying 900 a piece for the cameras, by the way?
To purchase something, yeah.
For one camera?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I thought so, then. I'll make a motion, we spend up to $510 replacing my batteries and the thermal imaging cameras. On whatever schedule Brian wants to do.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Motion and a second, any more discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all opposed? Approved?
It's a $5,000 investment, and that's all. Keep it up.
Yeah.
That's all I have for updates.
Okay, item B, email discussion.
So I had added these, I was having some conversations with Brian with Steve on CC, and I just wanted to give the board an opportunity to review and discuss, should you choose to or not, it doesn't matter, I just wanted to make sure, you know, Brian had referenced preferring this come to a public meeting, so I wanted to make sure that we provided it publicly. The first is the discussion about pancake breakfast, and the second one would be about the board, myself and or the clerk deciding where costs come from between the budget and the donated funds. So I just wanted to be able to discuss it if it needs to be discussed. I don't feel like a liar, but if Brian feels like we've been lying to him, I wanted to make sure we discuss anything that we may need to.
By way of comment, state law is crystal clear that the treasurer is the custodian of township funds, and the treasurer gets to decide what the processes are for administering those funds, accounting for those funds, depositing those funds, and tracking those funds, and so. I don't know that there's much debate to have over, you know, who decides the disposition or the handling of township funds. Crystal clear. I think there was some inappropriate, maybe insubordinate commentary. You know, I don't know if we need to accuse anybody of lying. I certainly don't agree with that assertion, but yeah.
Okay, so just so it's clear, I would like to speak on this. So basically, as far as the money about them deciding or us deciding, so basically that comes into was we were told when the township was taking over fundraising money that we would have to say over how the money is spent as far as what gets charged to the fire department fundraising account and the balance sheet or however we want to call it. And yes, we did approve, or we did agree, once it was brought to our attention that it does have to be approved by the township board, and that it does have to follow the guidelines of the taxpayer expenditures. But we still get say over it. So a bill was turned in to the township clerk. And a note was put on it to take it out of our miscellaneous, out of our regular fire department budget miscellaneous. It was for a subscription to Fire Magazine, which we've gotten forever. And a copy of it was put back into my tray that said, we never paid for this before, it was paid for out of fire department funds, so it's getting taken out of fire department funds. Well, there was a lot of stuff that we paid for over the years when we had $70,000 in our account that we paid for out of the fire department fund, their fundraising fund, that we no longer are gonna be able to do. So that's the basis that they're using, is they didn't pay for it before, so it's coming out of fundraising money now. So I wrote a note back and I said, no, this is going to come out of the regular budget, like I mentioned. And I specifically put that on a note. There's a lot of stuff that we paid for because we could. And just to help out our regular budget, that we no longer will be able to do. I never heard nothing else. The next thing I know, it comes off of the balance sheet for the fundraising expenses. So an email was sent to the treasurer and said, this is not supposed to come out of the fundraising account. I told the clerk that. And she responded back, it wasn't taken out of, it was taken from the fundraising account before, so it's coming out of the fundraising account. So that put some clarification and put it out to how the conversation really went on that.
Yeah, I think what's important to note is where the board made a mistake was assuming that you could continue to dictate and control those funds. But you can't. That's it. I mean,
It's
so we
something
are,
that the fundraising has always paid for. As many, I don't know how many years you've had this magazine subscription or
Probably
whatever it
the
is.
fire department's been along.
Well,
We didn't always pay for
it's not a vendor.
that vendor is not in our vendor list, Brian. That's how I knew that your regular budget never paid for it before. As long as we've had QuickBooks, that vendor was never paid through QuickBooks.
So again, that's it. We were told that we would have say over how the money gets spent up to the point of, as long as it's a taxpayer approved expenditure, it should be able to be, I should be able to specify if it comes out of our regular fire department budget or our fundraising.
But taxpayer funded monies have to go before the board for approval. When it doesn't come before the board, then it has to go out of that fund, because nobody asked us to pay for a
It was
subscription.
$34 and some cents.
Doesn't
We have up to
matter.
$200. I have up to $200 that we can spend without getting approval from the board first.
And you spend it.
No,
We get invoices constantly for the fire department. The point is, nobody lied to you. We are trying to work together on this and you're very defensive and I don't understand why.
how is that not a lie, saying that we have say over the fundraising money? Now
Because
you're
we've
saying
rescinded
don't.
that. We've rescinded that and
No.
offered to actually have you run that money through the community foundation and you refused.
Which
And
would
you
be
said we
legal.
didn't have a
Which was
problem.
illegal to even request us.
No, but no, it isn't.
Yes, it is. It was illegal for the township to be able to get into that.
We weren't talking about the township. We were talking about donated funds.
And the fire department couldn't do that because you rescinded our ability to approve our own, to take care of our own
When
money. So
I
we
did
wouldn't be able
ask, to clarify that point, I did ask MTA. If the firemen were to raise the money as firemen and turn it into the township, we couldn't turn it over to the foundation because we lose control of that money when we, and that we did mention before that we couldn't do it that way.
But we were talking about the Friends of the Fire Department donations.
Yeah, that
Right,
was
but
a-
they'd still have to form their own their own
No, it could have
charity
just been, it could
organization.
have been in anything. It didn't have to be a fire.
They can organize an auxiliary and they can go through the community foundation with that auxiliary. There's absolutely nothing.
Well, if they form their
The
own, yeah,
Township doesn't contract.
right, but they can form their own auxiliary, but they can also form their own auxiliary, which they've been working on to go to a 501c3 of their own and control their own money.
Right,
And that's what they chose to do.
right.
But my point was you can't turn the money into the township fund, like their old fundraising money sitting in township money. We can't turn that over to a foundation or any
Well, we
charity.
can't
No,
turn it over to
that's
fund, we
township
never
money.
were going to, no. It was
Right.
all donations moving forward, an auxiliary fund with the community foundation, which is not illegal.
Right, but they decided to go with their own 501.
I understand
Yeah,
that, Steve,
yeah.
but what I'm saying is, when we thought we could allow them, and then they couldn't, and we tried to come up with solutions, and we were met with absolute refusal at every turn, because it's not a problem, it's not an issue, you guys can control the money, but now we control the money, and they have an issue with how we control the money. So no matter what we do, we're wrong. It's just getting frustrating, so
Frustrating.
It's gonna
part is being
continue
told-
to be-
Being told that we have say over.
Brian, we've been
fundraising
through
money.
this time after time after time. We told you there was a mistake made. That's why you were told that. It's been corrected since then, but you keep going back to that.
Exactly, because that's what you
What
guys
do you
said.
mean exactly?
For several months of meetings after you guys took over the funds, you said you would still have control over the money.
yes, and we
And
told
you
you
would
we
still
were
have a
wrong.
say of how it was done. It was never said that you guys were wrong and that it was, there's gonna be a lot of stuff that's gonna come up that we paid for. So every time something comes up that was paid for by fundraising money, you're gonna say that it's gonna get turned over to us. That's not how, that's not gonna be, because that money's not gonna be
She's
there.
gonna decide.
Well, that money's
That's
not
who
gonna be there.
decides.
Once that money's gone, it's gone, because once
That's
we
right.
get the rest.
Once you spend it, it's gone.
So then what are you gonna do then? Cause there's lots of stuff that's gonna come up that was paid for with fundraising money before, that you guys, there
Just
there
cross
won't be
the
money there to
bridge
pay
as we
for.
come to it then, won't we?
Well, maybe you best get your auxiliary formed and, get your 501c3 up and running so that, you can do it your way, Brian. But, until then, it's township money. You've had input, but at the end of the day, crystal clear under state law that it's the township's responsibility and the funds fall under the purview of the township treasurer. And you may not like that, but, that's the system that we have to live with, and that's the hand that we're dealt.
Here's
But I
my,
think, I'm gonna add, I guess not so subtle suggestion that, you do work for the township, you answer to the township board, and if you wanna get along with the township board, it's probably better to exercise a little self-restraint and not call the board liars in email exchanges, because I don't think that helps your relationship with the board any when you do that. I think you need to tone it down and be a little bit more professional about some of your communications.
And I wanna spread a little bit of light on the next email that they discussed then, because basically that came down to, when we were told that we could not control we could not touch any of the money at the pancake breakfast, it all had to be touched by bonded people, which is fine. And I said, I would like someone from the fire department to verify the startup money, and I would like someone from the fire department to verify the money at the end of the day before the money leaves the building. If we learned one thing from this embezzlement thing, is was not to trust anybody. I don't care who the person is, how much money they've taken or been in control of. My response from the township treasurer was, I will do it my way. I am not requiring anybody from there. I will not change the way I do any of my stuff. I will not count the money out to anybody. What happened to basically being open to the public? Where's the problem with someone from the fire department verifying that counts of a fundraiser that we are doing?
For what purpose?
For the purpose of making sure that the money is accurate.
yeah, I'm good with that. I have a process. I don't need your fire department to
It
follow my
doesn't matter
process.
what your process is, it matters that
First of all, Brian, if you had emailed me and said, can we chat about your fiscal processes? I would have been open to that, but you said, I will require this person watch you do this person watch, I will require you to not leave the money, to not leave that building with the money. You don't require anything of me. You're an employee. I am the board. Okay, so having a civil conversation with me would have gotten you much further than demanding that I prove that I'm financially responsible to you and that I'm not stealing money. It's not happening. I collect tax money 4 times a year. You're not sitting here counting me then. Nobody is. So why aren't you counting out the money for me then?
That's not my responsibility.
Neither is this.
Yes, it is.
No, it
Fire
isn't.
department fundraiser.
Nope.
It is a fire
It's
department
township money.
fundraiser. And if you guys wanna be open to the public, there should be, what's the problem with having somebody from the fire department sit there and verify the counts?
There's no reason to. Jane is already scheduled to sit with me, take tally and count out with me.
And like I said, learning one thing from this embezzlement thing is to trust nobody.
I don't need your
trust
trust, Brian, to do my job. Period.
I guess that, see, I mean, that just talks about, you wanna be open and stuff with the public, but we're not being open and stuff with each other, so.
Oh, I'm
there
being
needs to be
very
some
open with
mutual-
you right now.
Bob talks about mutual respect and me respecting the board. The
If
board
this
needs to
email
return
was
respect to
written
me.
respectfully, I would have been open to it, but I am not open to it any longer, because I will not be treated the way that you treated me. Period. Not happening. I will be there at 7:30 with my cash box. Jane will be taking tally. We will get through it. I'm not answering to a member of the volunteer fire department on how I handle these funds. Period. I'm done. I'm not doing it. If you had emailed me differently, it wouldn't have gone down this way.
That's crap.
No, what's crap is the way that you wrote that email. Working together is
Crap is
completely
what's-
different than demanding of me. Like I'm nothing. Like I need you to make sure I know how to count money. I've been doing it for 13 years.
And like I said, I trust nobody anymore. I learned that from the embezzlement.
That's
I
a
don't
you
care
issue.
how much money anybody was in charge of,
No, I
how
don't
many
know.
years they've been doing it. It's been taken.
It's not too
been-
late to
it's
cancel
been
it,
done
Brian,
by-
if you don't wanna do it that way.
Well, go ahead, cause I'll make sure.
No, that'll be up to
everybody
you.
knows why.
That'll be up to you.
Okay, can I say something?
Sure.
When this all started, when it all came about. I said at that special meeting that we had, I wanted everything to be open in the public and to be having discussions, and no closed meetings and everything here. I also suggested at the next township meeting that Amanda and Brian get together, and I was under the assumption that they were gonna get together at that point and have a discussion as to the way things were gonna work, and I wanted to see, or I requested to see a paper or a draft or something that's gonna say, this is what you can do, this is what you can't do. Nothing ever appeared. The next month I asked, nothing ever appeared. I still to this day haven't seen. I don't know if you guys ever had that conversation or not, but I think that would have brought down a lot of this, what's going on now. If Brian knew exactly what was gonna happen and, you know, Amanda knew exactly how it was gonna get done, so everybody was on the same page. Few months later, I requested that the firemen come in and talk to her. We have a meeting with the fire department and the board in a public meeting so that everybody that was on board and how we were gonna do things and how things could work, there was no misunderstandings. Again, that never happened. Now we're at this point where we're fighting with each other, and I do feel, Brian, that you are turning the fire department against the board. I agree, I don't like you having that the township board is mine, because I'd like to know what I'm to do. I have offered to help you with receipts, I have offered to help you with raffles, I have offered to help you with the pancake breakfast. You refuse all help that this board has tried. You refuse to even contemplate going to the community foundation to do anything or to learn anything about it. You just flat out refuse. I don't understand where this is coming from. Why can't you just talk to us and say? And as far as, I mean, I guess, Amanda, that you're right, it's your job and you do count the money and you do have your system, but I've always dealt with, the more people that watch me count money, the better I feel. I'm under a.
It was the tone.
policy.
It's the tone.
Okay, that's you're right, and I understand that, but I have no problem if I have to, at the end of our fundraisers that I've been involved in. We have several people that sit and watch us count money and can verify, so that way if somebody says this is missing, I can say, go ask these 3 people, they saw it. And that's just me, but that's me, I understand, you're right. I just think there has to be conversations between the fire department and between us. And between the board, to just kind of get all this back out in the open. And as far as the fire, if the breakfast goes, Brian, if you want to cancel that, as far as I'm looking at, the board here is willing to come and help. Amanda and I both said we'd be there to help run it. If you choose to cancel it, fine, but don't blame it on the board.
Did the board ever approve it?
That's what I didn't understand, because my first email was, hey, I read you guys are having a pancake breakfast. There's a lot we have to do here. We didn't approve the date, the venue, the cost, the nothing. There's nothing. Nothing was done by the board. At this point, we can't spend a dime on the pancake. Well, it's later on the agenda because I'm hoping we have estimates and stuff to approve tonight, or else we can't hold it because we won't be able to pay for it. We have no authority to pay for any of this.
Like, we can't pay the Highland for the space if we don't have a board approval or an estimate or whatever it is. I have nothing. So that's later on the agenda, but. I appreciate your perspective, Jane, because yes, this has been obviously bubbling up and you've made attempts to ask us to work through it, but it's just not happened, so.
Any other comments on it? If not, we'll move on to inventory. I know they said at the meeting they were gonna start getting on it, so.
It's gonna be a while, it's gonna take a while to do it, so it's gonna be on there for a while.
You haven't expected a while, what that's gonna mean?
No idea, it's gonna take a long time to do all that, and I'm not gonna require guys that are volunteering their time to come down and do it, so it's gonna fall on me. So when I have time, I can go up there and pick away at it.
I mean, like, are we talking like 6 months, a year, 5 years?
Could be a year.
Well, it's already been, what, 2, 3? I think we need to put a
You have
time
an
limit
inventory
on
list,
this,
it
right?
just doesn't have numbers on it.
I also offered that we would help you.
And I'm not gonna have people that aren't fire department members going out there monkeying with fire department equipment and putting stickers on parts. They don't know where they're putting them. And all I need is more people going out into the fire hall that are non-fire department members monkeying with stuff.
Who's doing that?
Nobody, but she's saying they volunteered to help.
I said help, I didn't say go out there without you.
Well, you said
I
it.
volunteered for us to help you. You. Cause you made it clear that your volunteers weren't gonna be able to do it and that you would have to do it alone.
Some of them
So
will, but
I
I'm not gonna require
volunteered
it.
to help you. That's all. Oh my God, everything turns out to be a fight.
And that was another thing that was basically for 2 months told by the township board that it was a requirement of the insurance company.
You wanna
Which-
call Steve a liar? You go right
Brian,
ahead.
I talked to the
He was
insurance
there.
company directly.
He
Brian,
was there,
I'll tell
Brian.
you exactly what she said. Yes, she said, we don't have to do inventory, but if something is an inventory, they don't have to pay for it. That's exactly what she said. If there was a fire out there,
Right, and we have an inventory list I turned in. She
It's
never,
not,
she never said anything about it having to be numbered.
And when we did this a few months ago, the
She's-
board said, we are there
Exactly. But for 2
demanding it.
months, it was told, this is not a
just a
requirement.
minute
of the
now,
township board,
she
it's a
did
requirement
suggest
of the
we do
insurance.
this. She didn't say we had to, but she suggested that was the best way to do it.
And
what
directly
she
from
said
her.
was, if you don't do it and you have a loss, your insurance is not gonna pay.
Right, that's if you don't have an inventory list. We have an
No,
inventory
you
list.
don't.
Yes, we turned in an inventory list. I turned it into you twice.
Everything on there is old. Ryan, your trailer isn't on there, the pump isn't on there, I can keep
The
naming
fire trucks
things.
aren't on there, yes.
Well, oh my God. It's not ever gonna stop, is it? Just do the inventory. I am offering help
It'll get done at some point.
at some point. Okay, I think we need to make a motion to get an end date on this inventory. Even if it's next year, I don't care. I want an end date. Somebody have any suggestions?
Put a deadline there. And
What do you think is fair?
30 days.
30 days?
That's impractical. I would say 6 months
Well, he
myself.
said he's got it
Yeah,
almost done.
yeah, but,
No, it's not. I never said I
You
had
said
it
I
almost
turned it
done.
in twice.
I have an inventory list. I don't have stickers on every single item like you guys want. Which when I checked to the insurance company, they
Jane?
said that was never a thing that had to have numbered items on
What's
it.
fair?
Help me understand why it can't be done in 30 days.
I don't know why it
You know
hasn't
how
been
much
done in the
stuff
last
is, Bob?
few years.
To go out there and put a sticker on every single
there
thing
is
that's
a.
on the fire trucks and in the fire
there's-
pump.
I don't know how many,
It's a building full of stuff, so like, you know.
It's the fire trucks, every single fire truck is stuffed in each cabinet, plus the building itself.
So are we looking at inventory? When you say inventory, Ryan, you're telling us a list, A, B, C, and D. Fire mask, coats, fire hoses, blah, blah, blah. That,
It's like a
wait,
17-page spreadsheet that was turned in.
wait. That's what you're looking at inventory. When you say inventory, you're looking at fire hose and then number 0068. Is that what you're thinking, that it has to have a number
I
attached?
don't even care about the numbers. We've been through this
Okay.
numerous times
we're-
about the numbers.
Okay,
We don't have an adequate inventory list.
so what you're
At all.
looking for is everything that's out in that fire hall. Fire jackets, masks, cameras. And do we have, and Brian, you're saying Debbie has that, and Debbie's saying it's not complete, is that?
No,
what-
it's
is that
not
where we're
anywhere
at?
near complete.
And you're
She
thinking
doesn't
it's
know, she hasn't
complete?
been out in the fire hall.
I
The
know
only thing
by
that's
the,
not on there is the trail pump and the
listen,
trucks.
I know by the bills that get paid, Brian, what's on that inventory list and what's not.
So you're saying that there's two things that are not in this inventory list that you turned in,
So there may be some other stuff,
10?
I have no
20?
idea.
Okay. I would say 60 days.
All right, let's set it.
And we're not
60 days.
saying it has to have stickers on it, we're just saying we need to know what's out there. Is that what my understanding is, and your understanding, is that where we're sitting?
It should be a catalog list, but I think we'd be fine at this point
At
with
this
just
point,
knowing
just
what
knowing-
exists.
okay. That's my,
And then
that
they
is
can
strictly
go
my
back
opinion.
and catalog it all.
Strictly my opinion, 60, that's just mine.
Is that a motion?
If you want me to, I can make a motion that we have a timeline that we want to complete an inventory list within 60 days of today.
Support.
Motion and support. If, any discussion? I just
Yeah,
like to
just
say.
one more discussion.
I just like to-
Every single department in this township has complied and done this. It's been at least 2 years that we've been working on this. It's a constant work because you're adding things to it all the time. So you have to keep updating it all the time. The water department did it, the maintenance department did it, the cemetery department did it, the offices did it. And yeah, it took a long time, but we picked away at it and kept doing it. It's the only department that we can't get to do this.
You have a fraction of like,
Yeah, but-
every other department has
Yeah,
a
but-
fraction,
Yeah,
a fraction of the items.
and we have the fraction of the people working on it too, Brian.
Yeah, well,
We
your
have
people
two
are, your
people in
people
the
are paid,
office to
my
do
guys
it.
aren't paid, so. So I can't require them to come out here and do it for hours and hours and hours.
Okay, we had a motion and a second for 60 days. Myself, I think that's a little short, knowing the equipment that's out there, but
A lot short.
Well, I guess I'm going by, you said the inventory list wasn't missing that much, so I guess that's why I'm saying 60, because if it's not missing that much, if it's not missing that much, you shouldn't have that much to add.
We gotta go through and check everything, to see what's missing from the list and what's not. So you basically gotta go through and touch every single item on the truck to go through and verify.
Board motion. Need to close it again.
okay, we call for a vote. All in favor,
Aye.
all opposed? Approved. Minutes. I know, I, guys talked at the meeting, they were gonna start providing minutes now for the township.
You already in here?
Did you get them this month, Brian?
No, we'll start in the next month.
Okay,
I'll need the past minutes that you have, anything you have to.
I don't have, Todd had them on,
You have a file cabinet out there with minutes in it, don't you?
yeah, Todd had them on, Todd had the minutes. He would read the minutes, then he had.
You have copies of the minutes, Brian.
No, you don't.
You
Todd-
never had a copy
read the
of any
minutes.
of your minutes?
No,
What would you?
they were read at the meeting, they were approved and Todd had them, and we didn't get any of that stuff
So for the last year, who's been keeping the minutes?
for the past year. Myself, well, when I had it, or once we hired his replacement,
So you have at least the last year.
I don't.
What do you mean you don't know? You're the
That's
fire
all.
chief. You should have
That's
minutes
all.
of your meetings. Why are you being like this?
We have some of them,
Okay, we need them all, copies, so
Well,
that they
I
don't
don't
be
have
kept on
them all.
premise.
Are they on a hard drive? Can you print them? Can you? You
not
must
the
use a
ones that, not the
computer.
ones from before.
No, I'm talking about since.
We'll get you what they can get you.
Well, get what you have and make a point to get them from now on.
Hold on. I'm the FOIA clerk. And I've been FOIA'd on some fire department minutes, and I don't have them in my possession. I need them. It's my job. So I know that there's minutes from before Todd left. What happened to them could be another story. But I need your minutes every month, and I need you to go back as far as you can.
I can't go, the one that
I
Tom
need
has
you to
now,
go back as far as you can.
right, that's what I'll do. And Tom
And
never
then
turned
as
it
for
in.
Todd's minutes, I don't believe he didn't provide copies for anybody in the fire department.
Oh, he
I'm
did.
sorry, Brian, I don't believe
Oh, he
that.
did. So,
You have to approve it.
well,
I
exactly,
mean,
you
it's
read them,
something you don't have.
you read them, we approved them.
And what did he do with them then? Did he
He-
take them home?
Yeah, he took them home, well, that's the way he did it. That's the way they did it in the past.
Well, going forward in the future, we'll have to do it different, that's.
So, circling back, we have a victim impact statement we have to fill out for the courts. Those are township records that he would be in possession of. And, I think the court should order him as part of that victim
I was gonna
process
ask that.
to turn those records back over to the township. They're not his keep.
I was gonna ask that, if we could get that, if we could do that. So who do we go for that?
I think we communicate with the court,
With the court, with the district?
but we
attorney?
probably need to do that before he's sentenced.
Which is Monday, yeah.
Yeah,
The week to the district. A week from today.
Yeah.
if
And
there's
that's-
any other
here's-
township property that he would have in his possession. I don't know what
Yeah.
that might be.
So, do you want to try it, since you've been dealing, since Brian's been dealing with the district attorney, have them call and tell her that, or how do you want it to? how
I
do you
already
want it to
mentioned
go?
to a month, like 2 months ago when they were working on stuff, I said, we don't have any copies of minutes or anything like that that he had in his possession or any invoices or anything. And if we could get that as part of the plea, and I never heard anything back from them, so they were aware that we wanted that information.
Well, I know you've got a lot going on your plate, Brian, so if you want, I'll be happy to give them a call and find out what's going on, if you want to pass on her information or name and number.
Just, I've just been dealing with mainly Aaron Weary at the prosecutor's office.
Erin Weary,
She's the prosecutor, victim service person.
she was the one that was in court that day.
Yep.
Sure. Okay.
We'll move on to water system business. Water system updates.
The only leak detection moved back in July, Unison joined the group, so they needed a bigger block.
What are you talking about?
I mean, it's-
Sorry.
We hired leak detection for the system.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay,
They,
got it.
yes, they were gonna go with
They
Gladstone.
were gonna, yeah, with Gladstone, well, now Unison jumped on also.
Got it.
So there's three of us, or are we out because Unison's in?
No,
Oh,
there's maybe someone else.
Okay, so
So
they're gonna.
they needed a
So maybe the
bigger,
cost will go down.
no, I think Unison. got
Just
the same
Unison
thing.
got the-
Yeah, I was just gonna ask you about that tonight.
Yeah.
What the situation is, what, no idea
First
yet,
week
though,
or
when-
second week of July.
okay,
Other than that, it was just working on our consumer confidence report all month. It's just about done. That's not due till June 3rd, July 1st. I'm probably gonna order some meters soon, which I budgeted for, because the last couple that I left in the garage, I just can't seem to get them to communicate properly with our endpoints, so the few zeros I have out there that I wanted to replace, I haven't been able to. I'm not sure if it's a handheld thing or the meters, but
Those few that you did do, that we were able to change the endpoint
They
numbers in, they work now.
yeah,
So,
I've been trying to do the same thing. It's kind of like a programming setup with 3 more meters. And it just, I keep saying.
because Karen walked us through, getting those straightened out, so maybe it's something that we can do with him.
Yeah, I had Deanna downloaded the driver on Thursday maybe. And I tried again and it still didn't work. And I talked to Aaron. He told me to try something else and he's just kinda,
But adding that 0 on the endpoint didn't help this time on those?
this is a different problem.
Oh.
This is like getting the meter to talk to the endpoint before I even install it. For you guys to enter it in. So I'm just gonna get meters from Aaron, which are Badger, which the rest of us are.
Is what Mike should have
That's
done to begin with, yeah.
the problem.
He bought them from that other company because he saved a few bucks.
Yeah,
Oh boy, did we ever save money?
I don't know how I got those few to work, but not these ones. I think it's more of a meter manufacturer, just. They tend to push you where to go.
Yeah.
All I have for updates.
Okay. We'll move on, water leak forgiveness request on Mayran's.
So Mayron ran into a month, 43,000. We tried to contact him, multiple numbers. I knocked on his door one night, didn't get a hold of him. We sent him his large bill. He paid, it was 511, he paid 51. We were hoping that would get his attention to call us to get a hold of him of what's going on. So by the time he paid that, we still couldn't get a hold of him. And then.
I wrote him a letter at that.
Yeah, we put a
Yeah.
letter in his mailbox. Then he contacted us, which, you know, that added weeks to his leak,
Mhm.
and he chalked up another 84,000. Debbie called me last week and he's trying to get some forgiveness, is that, he was requesting this, or well, he was at the last meeting.
He was at the last meeting and asked us to look at it, so I supplied the board with his audit history. And I also supplied the board with our water ordinance. It's kind of, I don't wanna call it a gray area because it makes it pretty clear that it's pretty much up to us. Historically, we've only forgiven when they replaced their line. This wasn't in a line though, this was in his
Plumbing.
in his plumbing in his house.
Mm.
Historically, we've never helped out on that. However, if the board decides to do part of it, that leak was detected on, just a minute, I gotta get my date straight, on February 3rd. The leak was detected when I saw a high water usage. I immediately let Troy know. He went there, he knocked on the door, he looked around. By the way, Mr. Naran's not here tonight, is he not? Okay. And he didn't really think anybody was living there by the stuff around there. But anyway, so I said, well, he'll call when he gets his bill for $500. And he didn't call, he just paid the 51. So then again, in the beginning of March, we tried to notify him again. I mean, I did everything to try to find this guy. I had a phone number, no good. I Googled him, found out he owned a business in town. I called the business phone number, been disconnected. We tried to find him. The only thing that we neglected to do was to be diligent enough to put a door hanger thing on his doorknob when we first found the leak on February 3rd. However, I don't really think the guy was even there to even know he had a leak.
And we
Even
wouldn't
put
just
it
shut
up
off because somebody lives there, so yeah.
Well, it was within the winter timeline that.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Someone out there.
Right.
So did we owe him I mean, he's never provided us with an updated phone number. We did send him a letter, but it was late. So was there a couple weeks there that there wouldn't have been a leak if we could have successfully gotten a hold of him? Probably.
But those winter folks do it, they leave, and their toilet was running, that hose was unhooked, it happens all the time over there, and it's not our. Go ahead.
That's it, I'm very sorry, the township. And I think we diligently tried to get hold of him.
Yeah,
He
Well,
was
his
living
argument was that we didn't try, that we didn't leave him a note when we found the leak,
there. We also,
which we agreed that we did not do
yeah,
that.
but you did how many other things too?
Yeah,
I mean.
yeah,
you know.
and in the end, I ended up having to send him a letter anyway.
Yeah.
The same night I had, someone we had good contact information, they had a leak, I called them 20 minutes before I was at Mayor's and I shut theirs off. I forget that address, but.
And you're saying since then, he's never given us an updated phone number or anything
No.
yet?
I still don't. We told him last month that we would table it until this month, as long as he made his regular payment. And he made a payment on March 25th, his regular payment.
does he have a renter living there or something like?
It wouldn't matter, so he was responsible when.
Well, I was just trying to figure out what took him so.
He said he didn't know he had a water leak until he got the letter. And the letter I would have sent to him was, like, around the 20th of February, because he only paid that 5110. I sent him a note at that time and said, your water bill wasn't 5110, it was 511. He moved the decimal point over is what he did.
Oh,
You see what I mean?
sure, we never thought 511 would make
Yeah.
sense.
So, and that it's possible he has a leak. So then he found the leak under his house from that letter on the 19th of February. Well, it was probably more like the 22nd before he got the letter. And by the time he found that leak, it had already leaked, I'm sorry, into March. I got
Right,
the dates all
March
wrong,
4th,
but-
yeah. Basically, it leaked the entire month of February,
and part of January.
yeah. It doesn't, we've done our due diligence and there's nothing in the ordinance that says it's forgivable when it's within their own home, and nor have we ever, in my history on the board, done it for someone which was a home maintenance issue. They've done their insurance or whatever they do.
The ordinance is pretty clear. It says
Yeah.
property owners
Yeah.
responsible for any
Okay, so-
leaks after.
Yeah,
The next question is, can we give him a payment agreement with no interest, or no late fees?
I'd be fine with that.
No, it says that, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think that's within our purview fully, yeah.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
And it can
You
be
wanna
long
send some
standing.
guidelines on it?
Sure, so basically the past due, overdue, late fees, et cetera, is about 1,500, right?
Yeah, cause he's got $150 worth of late fees on there.
Right, so
already.
we would take that
Yeah.
off, so we're at 1,400.
Well, right now,
Essentially.
it's 1614 minus the 150, so it'd be like 1450.
I was thinking 55 is current usage, so I was ignoring that. So let's take the late fees off, and it's a balance of about 1,400, and I would be comfortable with 100 a month for 14 months, no interest.
Plus the 55,
Yes,
so it'd be 155 a month.
yes,
Additional 100 going toward the. debt.
yeah, no late fees, no interest.
On the 1,400.
Yeah.
It's like on the
Yes.
55.
Correct.
So that would be my reco. I'm happy to make a motion unless you have another point, Bob, you're thinking.
Nope, I was gonna ask if that was a motion. so-
Okay, I'll make it a formal motion that we take the $1,400 leave, extended at $100 a month, no interest, late fee.
I ain't gonna write that.
For, okay,
Here we have a motion and support to eliminate the late fees and charge them $100 a month payment for the.
If you want.
overage.
Yeah.
Okay, any more discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all opposed? Approved. We also have the water resolution. We have to. That goes along. with the-
but they've been sitting here waiting. We should have done that last time, so they don't have to hear all of it. So I just need clarity, I read it, but what we're saying is, this resolution would approve us to send this packet. It's no commitment for us at this point in money, time, effort, energy, it's just approving this plan being sent off.
Right. You agree with that, Tony?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay,
For alternative to. Right, replacement of lead and impact the water service lines.
the resolution is just saying
Right.
the
Approve this one. It says alternate two, was under two, alternate 19, so we're gonna go with plan B 60.
Yeah, alternative two is the alternative where we go to try to fix the problem.
Right.
Yeah,
I make a motion, we adopt resolution 04 tech 21 tech 2025 tech 01.
motion and support, any more discussion?
Roll call, Jane,
Yes,
Amanda,
Yes,
Bob,
Yes.
Debbie, yes, Steve,
Yes. Okay, we'll move on zoning administrator business, do you have anything more?
Yeah, I think we covered it.
Okay.
it's like it's 9 o'clock.
Item 14, county commissioner business.
yes, county commissioner business, Christine Williams. Couldn't be here tonight because she's attending the drug court graduation, and she asked me to do her updates for her. And she sent them to me, so I'm just reading them. The Board of Commissioners met this morning at a special meeting to approve moving forward with hiring Ashley Young as our airport manager. Negotiations will take place tomorrow. The commissioners will meet Thursday, April 24th at 9 a.m. to discuss the administrator's position. She would like me to remind the public to please participate in the county's 5-year rec plan survey. There are copies printed out by the sign-in sheet, both in the paper form and a QR code to take online. There's also a link on our township's website at fordriver.org. And that's it.
Okay. Unfinished business, policy update, I guess.
Have to say table that, and hopefully next week or next month we will. I think we got enough going on right now. We should be all done. Everybody should have their recommends in, so I should be able to get a copy sent out or print it out.
it's the only thing on the agenda next month.
Playground update. The work is tentatively scheduled to begin out there July 1st, so we should, both contractors are signed the final contracts and are ready to go when the time comes.
And all of our renters are aware that the work will begin July 1.
Okay. And then junk update, 308 M35, I had a complaint from a neighbor from this one. If you jog our minds
That's
a
the
little
same
bit.
one?
Yes.
Same one, different owner,
I was gonna say it's sold on a tax back.
Right, it got
And then he
sold,
sold it.
Oh,
and
geez.
what he had done, he started working on the house,
Yeah,
and
we still do. I thought we don't.
Yeah.
what he did, he emptied the interior contents of the house out onto the yard and it sat there. I sent him several letters and no response. So I guess our next step is we would have to probably take action against some of the attorney.
Well, why don't we wait until, because this is blight, right?
Right, it's
Well,
like,
aren't we gonna be working with QPAD to hopefully take care of this so you can write citations?
well, yeah, we could do that too. I mean, it's up to the board
It's
if you
been
wanna wait until,
8
because.
years, I think.
Mhm.
Rachel started this process. for the
Yeah.
house.
It's been, and actually the worst of it was, we kinda had it solved, we thought, with them, for closing on it, and the new owner is
Ugh.
just as bad, so.
Was this the one that you looked at Indiana or
Mhm.
something? And we had.
But
It's the niece of the aunt of the, yeah.
the new owner lives there, but he just doesn't return any responses to anything you send him, so. So I guess is at the pleasure of the board, we wanna wait until we get the citation process going.
Well, we're waiting on all these other ones.
Mhm.
I mean, we've done nothing on the other ones in the whole township, so it would be nice to do them all when we are able to.
I think we need to expedite the process. I hate the notion of putting this off any longer than we have to, especially if we have
And
complaints.
how the process on that is going to work, we have to pass some ordinances, of course, we have to introduce the ordinance. read it,
Amendments.
and then 30 days later, they're not like, zoning ordinance where you have to put notices and have public hearings, but you still have to read the ordinance at one meeting. Then you turn around and 30 days later at the next meeting, you
The
vote.
second reading, yeah.
Yeah, and then you vote on it. So, I mean, it'll take some time, like you said, probably 3 months before we get it set to go.
And not by moving slow, but just by the letter of the law.
Or by the letter of the law,
the
because
date
we
that has
have
be
to have
in
the
between.
30-day intervals in between there before.
But I think in the meantime, we don't stop sending letters on record for
I
these
was just gonna
things,
say
you know?
that too, just keep sending letters out, so we have to have this documentation that. Okay.
Yeah,
And the
There's
letter,
like
something
10
like.
active junk complaints right now, so
Yeah.
it's time they all get a new letter.
Yeah.
yeah,
We should just.
we
print
just
those.
keep sending letters, I guess, until we get it straightened out on some of these, and we'll see where it goes.
But I can't see doing another court case that's gonna cost us thousands of dollars to get nowhere again. No, I
Okay,
shouldn't say us, that's it.
yeah. Move on to 911 sign update, and, they in the process of starting to install them, they've already identified some signs that were missing. There were 13 signs they found that weren't in the package. And then 7 the summary signs that weren't in the package, so. And then I thought, well, if we're gonna have extra signs, we'll need extra posts too, so I just got our email back today from Lang Enterprises, and the 13 signs are $25.46 each.
We already paid for those though. We already paid for the signs.
Some of them
Yeah.
weren't in the list when I went through the
The
list.
list that was off, not the.
Yeah,
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
they weren't on the list, you know. And then the summary signs were $59.85 each for a total of $418.98. And then 25 more posts. They were $5.60 a post for a total of $246.50, so. The total order with shipping of $140 would come to $1,136.46.
Do you need?
Yeah,
I'll make a motion for the 113646 for signs.
got a motion and support. I just like to make a comment. I did get a price from Myers Signs, and they wanted $44 sign, so it would have been quite a bit.
And this is the same company from the original.
Yeah, it's the original
So-
company.
So the
Signs.
signs that he's went out and bought the little stickers for and changed, those will be taken down
Yeah,
and the new sign will be put up.
we can do that too on that, but these are signs that actually there was no number for.
Okay.
Yeah. But if he changed a sign that he thinks. Was there that didn't have a number and he changed the number. We'll have to-
Well, maybe you can go through those, they're on the south end of the
Yeah,
township. And see the ones, you'll see what I'm talking
Yeah.
about when you look at those.
When it's
yeah,
all said and done, we're gonna wanna go back to those.
Yeah.
But surely.
They're,
It's okay
the
for
numbers
now,
are
Yeah.
nice and big and the little numbers stuck on them are much
no,
smaller.
they all gotta be uniform, so we'll have to change. all that.
Yeah.
I'll get a hold. Make
Tell
sure,
them not to change anymore.
yeah,
Yeah. Just don't put them up if they're on,
right,
and then we'll work on those when the time. Okay,
yeah. Okay, we had a motion support for spending $1,136.46 to buy additional signs, posts. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all opposed? Here,
and that comes out of the public improvement, right? That we.
yeah, that'll come up,
5,425 is it for wages, so that comes out the other 10.
yeah.
Okay.
We'll move on, current litigation updates. Keeney, the attorney's got, he's reading that information. I have it back. I said the attorney is reviewing the information, send all the documents from
To get the money,
the what?
to get the money, to charge her for the reimbursement,
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
the
so
lawyer
he's-
fees?
yeah,
And what attorney is that?
it's, Jeremy Pickens from Pickens and Marquette.
Okay, and you gave him the
Jeremy
information and how,
Pickens,
and when did you give that to him, Steve? Because we've been talking about this for like 2 months.
it was a couple of weeks ago, but. He's a little slow at getting back with us, but he does do a good job and does fine to get back.
I'm not sure 100% what we're talking about right now.
Or to going after, or recover some of the money from the court case.
Well. Okay, is there something else on here about the attorneys? Business. Oh, yeah, never mind, it's coming later on the agenda, I apologize.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
So we're gonna go, so did you decide to go with Ms. Pickens again and sign the attorney?
for now,
Okay.
anyway, we'll see how it works out.
Okay, do they have a department that strictly works with townships or?
Yeah,
Just, they just like, one of their departments that they firm just do townships?
yeah. That's pretty much all he does. He's from a bigger law firm, but pretty much his part of his law or township.
Okay,
And then item B, try-in preliminary hearing, April 29th. So, April 9th, we had a hearing scheduled for that, and then the county took the wrong docket, and they had it, because we have our case going forward with that, and then also as Dr. Knope had a lawsuit against them. And it was supposed to be his court case that they were gonna put on the docket, and instead they switched it to ours, which wasn't scheduled. And so now it's gonna all end up on our date for April the 29th, and hopefully we'll get that all straightened out. Get that put to bed. Then Dickinson County Prosecuting Attorney Impact Statement. They had sent us an update. We had filed an impact statement with them earlier, and she was giving us the latest update on what's happening with that case. That was for the mail fraud case that happened last year, where some people stole checks and changed the amounts on them and had them cash fraudulently.
But I don't think we did an impact statement, Steve.
No, I filed one
You
and
did.
sent it to the,
Oh, because the letter says.
I know she didn't include one, but I had sent one to her from the first letter.
We didn't really have a loss though, just,
He just said the cost of the checks.
yeah,
Like,
the checks. Okay,
Yeah, and then I just put in.
that first rate was the actual loss.
I'm sure that they.
They had the loss.
Yeah, that's what I explained, but I mean, it's still, like I explained, it's public trust and things that take place when things like that happen, you know.
God, terrible.
Okay, item new Delta County Road Commission proposals. They have sent us some, well, remember last month, we had residents that were complaining about high road up there. And his complete proposal for that road ended up $127,000 and something. But obviously that's far more than our budget, so then he broke it down into on a preliminary preparation, and then it would be a 2-year project, totally the same, but it would be broke up into 2 different years. So if we decided to do that or do nothing, but obviously we can't do the whole road in 1 year at that price.
Well, I do have a concern about this. 2 years ago, in his proposal to us, he said that they had some COVID money that they had to spend, and that instead of it being a 50%, he would only charge the township 25%. So we approved a whole bunch of work because we've only had to pay 25%. And they never did the work.
Yeah,
They never did the work. and spent that money somewhere else that was earmarked for Ford River Township.
After we wasted the money prepping it all. Didn't we
Yeah.
prep some?
Oh, yeah, we prepped a couple of roads that the gravel just washed off of it the next year. So now he's wanting us to prep it again. And pay 50%, and it's higher now than if we'd have paid 50% at that time. And they're the same roads. So I personally am not for paying the Delta County Road Commission to fix our roads when they've already gotten paid to fix our roads more than once. And I don't know if anybody's read the new, I found an article that the governor is putting out $44 million for rural roads. Or local roads or township roads or whatever it is. That it's not been approved yet, but it probably will be. Where's that money gonna go? It's gonna be, part of it's gonna be earmarked for Delta County. And if we pay for these roads to be repaired, it won't be coming to Ford River Township. It'll be going to the townships that refuse to participate in something that they already get money to do. We don't, our taxes that come to our township, are not for roads. The
Well-
tax money that goes to the Delta County Road Commission is supposed to be spent on local roads anyway.
The counterpoint to what you're saying about how if we pay now, we're not gonna get, but historically, the road commission does not work with townships who won't match. So at the same time, if we don't commit something, they won't prioritize us with that money. They'll prioritize the people who will commit something.
But when they do commit, they still don't do it anyway.
I didn't want to spend any money with the Delta County Road Commission for many years, but I tried to hold firm and be like, well, they're gonna do it anyways, because they just don't come to our township. They just don't come.
And now it's dust control we have to pay for, and brushing, and now it's ditching. They want us to pay $12,000 for, I'm sorry, $6,000 for ditching. That's their responsibility to keep up the ditch.
And I know, and we cycle this through, because if we don't commit some, they won't come here. They'll prioritize the municipalities who will match. And that's where all their money will go.
Is there? Can we have a road commission and this Jody Norman come here, have a public
He
meeting,
used to.
have our residents here, a public meeting, because this is all over. I hear it all over Fort River, this road, that road. I think he needs to come here and at a public meeting where people can come and we can get answers. And Debbie, maybe you can put together when we agreed to pay the 25% and how much we spent, get those facts.
He used to
And
come
go
to our
down.
meetings and ask for this money every year.
But, well,
It's
I
not
think we should
your
have
road, so you'll
should
come
have an open town hall, public meeting and have them.
If we
have them
invited
come.
him to come, he would come.
Well, I think we need him to come and I think he needs to answer to the people that live on these roads and why they're not getting fixed and what's going
I
on.
agree with you, Jane, because here's the biggest thing. When a resident goes to the county and complains about their road,
He says.
he says that
Yes.
here.
Yes,
And
he
says
does.
it's our responsibility, and it's not.
Yes, I think
There was a resident down on, Portage Point a couple years ago, this board was pretty much in place, yeah, I don't know about you, Bob, but it was everybody else. A group of residents came to our meeting and complained about some tree removal they wanted that was close to the power lines. And we're like, that's not our responsibility. Oh yeah, road commission says it's townships. It was neither, it was the city of Escanava's power lines.
I think that would, before we do, I don't know, to me, before we decide, I think we need to set up a date where he comes out, we need to post it, we need to have our residents who are concerned with the roads come and get the good flags from him.
I do want to disclose one thing before this goes any further. On the top proposal that's on there. I need to stay out of that. The ditching is in front of my house. So the proposed ditching goes from the township hall down past 10th Road and around the corner to my property. It's the only ditch on the whole road. Everybody else has filled them in. So I don't want to be part of making that decision. I'm just making that clear up front.
But you're saying you wanna hold, I mean, what is our cutoff with Jody as far as when they're willing to earmark their funds?
Well, he wants it as soon as possible,
Of course he
but,
does.
I mean. If we hold up to the worst case, nothing can get done this year, if we decide.
Well, and I think that's a disservice to the residents too, cause I think we got.
My suggestion for this year, and then, you know, I read that governor's proposal that she's talking about the road work, maybe we. The graveling, sealing and everything, probably just wait until see what the governor's proposal actually does end up being.
Mhm.
And when she says local roads, the problem with local roads is it's still county. The counties are gonna get the money.
Right. That's what
The
I'm
only
thinking.
townships,
We won't see it if we pay for it.
Yeah, I'm sorry,
We
but
won't see it if we don't.
I don't know what this ditching is or contains, but I guess I'm looking at it, like, is that something we can wait? Cause we have people that
Oh,
are trying to get in potholes.
Well,
Trying to-
here's
And I don't agree, cause I
the
think it's
situation
terrible.
about the ditching.
Yeah, but somebody knows of that too.
But these houses are flooded.
Houses are floating out.
That
But-
Zan house. On Halloween, we went there to
Yeah.
trick or treat and she mentioned that.
Yeah, and I'm not against doing it,
Yeah.
I'm not saying it should be
Yeah,
done, I'm
I'm
just saying,
You know, even though I said I'm not gonna be part of the ditching thing, I do have to say one thing. Right down here, there's a Airstream trailer that's back in the woods. And there was this great big trees and they were hanging over the road. And the county went through last fall and cut those trees down. But the trunks of those trees are this big and they laid them in the ditch. Now the water can't get through there. And it's backing up in these people's yard. And they won't come clean that up.
I think he needs to come and answer some of these questions. I really do.
Steve, sorry, we all interrupted. You were gonna make a
So I'm
recommendation.
just gonna recommend we do the ditching for this year and
The dust control.
hold off on, in the dust control and hold off on them. Because if the governor's proposal is something that will help, maybe it'd be cheaper for us next year to do that than this year.
When the roads last though, they were never seasoned.
Well, none of them are really impassable, you know, as far as, one more year.
Well, after our last meeting, Christine Williams went and took pictures of the sawmill, I call it the Sawmill Road, the end of I Road. And the county had already filled in the potholes with gravel at that point. So.
Somebody was hurt at the county then, that's
Yeah.
good. The residents probably, or whatever. I don't know.
And then one of the things, one of the residents was complaining when you go down that road, make the corner, and then it becomes a seasonal road, and that's so bad. But the township has no residents or anything living on that part of the road, there's no reason really for us to get involved with. And I did read the state law, the county is technically responsible on a seasonal road to at least grade it in the summer. They don't snow plow in the winter and things, they don't have to do that, but they are supposed to grade them. And I
How
don't
far
know.
down is that a county road?
Well, it goes quite a ways,
The
all,
McCuskey property?
yeah, right to the McCuskey property, but. But it's seasonal, they got the seasonal road sign right there.
Yeah, but it stops being a road and turns into two lanes in the middle of the woods. I mean, it's not, I wouldn't call that a road, I'd call that a trail.
Well, I mean, I personally, I wouldn't say this ditch is terrible.
It is, and we've had a complaint, she does have a flooding problem there. And I'm sure other people along there must too. It's, that does back up and walk through the woods and back it up where that old well is over there, there's water laying all over it there.
Where I used to.
You can tell in the winter that there's a water issue because it never freezes.
Yeah, it flows.
It's like a stream going through, and it's that well. They
Yeah,
cap that well and it, you know, water finds a new way to get out when it's a free flowing well.
the old mushroom.
Yeah,
And
I called
something,
Steve in the middle of the winter wondering if that was one of my leaks. I'm like, what do you know about that old well? And I tested it.
What is it, some that's all road?
It's our old well, our township
Oh.
well,
It's, remember the mushroom?
the mushroom, the concrete mushroom top thing right
You
there?
know, Oh, wow.
At one time, it was
I used to
hooked to the
think of-
water system, but it started
Right.
showing high radiation levels. And they
Right.
had to cap it and take it off the water system.
Well,
And
we
it-
took it off the water system, but didn't cap it for years.
Yeah.
It just flowed, and then we capped it sometime in the last
And
15 years.
It's a flowing well, so they capped it, and apparently it must have came
Why not?
cluster.
Way out one way.
Now it just goes right to
That's
damn
good
south.
Cause our groundwater has a 0.7 of fluoride. I test, like in Gladstone, if we test a leak. Fluoride will stay in it whether it runs down the block or not. This had no fluoride, so.
Hmm.
Kind of a hint, as I don't think it is,
Yeah.
but it's just a different groundwater stream.
It's a free one, we should, one, enough of that. But dust control is a thing that's timely, right? Because that's a spring thing.
Yeah,
And
and
we do that every
that's,
year.
it's the same price as last year. I looked at last year's proposal.
Right here.
Same price.
48 cents a gallon or something, it comes to a couple thousand bucks. So I'll make a motion, we enter into the dust control agreement as previous. Oh, second.
What about the ditching?
Oh, I didn't know I had to do everything at once. Can we just do dust control separate?
Yeah, we can do dust, we can do them separate. Okay, we have a motion and a second to, enter into the dust control contract with the county this year for 48 cents per gallon. Any more discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
And as for the rest, I like, Jane's recommendation on all this road situation, because we've done these roads before and they never got finished, et cetera, et cetera. I personally have heard about the ditches for 2 years, and I know last year they would not even do them, so I think if it's gonna cost us $6,000 to get the ditching done, I think we should do it. Personally, but I'm open to discussion before I make a film.
Well, I guess I just feel like this, I would like to wait until after we have this meeting with him and find out what his reason is that they put a trunk in there and they didn't take it out. Now it's causing flooding. And now you want us to pay $6,000 pretty much to remove it.
But that's just the
Part of it.
cream of, on.
I know, but I'm saying,
But if you look going down this road, and this has nothing to do with my property, that's why I'm gonna discuss it. It's all grown in and there's tag alters in there 10 feet high, it's just solid. It needs to be ditched. It
and I'm sympathetic to
absolutely
that.
100% needs
Yeah,
to be
I'm not
ditched.
saying it doesn't. I
Yeah.
just,
I'm fine with waiting, but I'd
I'm
rather
just-
not wait till another board meeting. I'm hoping we can can we have some sort of time with Jody before the next board meeting?
Well, I could see what his schedule is, and we could have a special meeting to discuss it.
I mean,
Would
if
that
you
be
guys,
okay?
well, I mean, no, it's up to you guys. I mean, I'm one vote. If you guys want to go.
No, I think everybody should be informed in the vote. It's a big deal. It's a big part of our budget,
Right,
so.
but I'm saying, yeah, no, I mean, it's up to you guys. I mean,
I guess my thing
I
is,
would, but if you guys feel that you need to do this and go ahead, that's up to you guys too. It's each individual. That's all we're here. I'm just giving my opinion. That's all it is, whatever it's worth, but 2 cents.
Well, I know my thoughts are that the ditching should be done this year. I really think we should do something about that ditch.
Mhm. And again, I totally agree we should. I'm not
so,
punishing anybody. I'm just.
yeah.
Is there any way that he can, guarantee, well, I shouldn't use the word guarantee you. Jane's point is very valid. Why should we have to pay for the trees that they left in the ditch? But if they don't include that in, are those trees included in this proposal? That we have to pay
Everything
for the
with the
removal?
ditching, and it's also includes 10th Road. You're supposed to ditch all of 10th Road in that proposal too.
the
Then
point
that's
is to
cheap.
suck the water out of Ford River and put it back out where it goes to the river, right?
Yeah.
Clear it all out. I want to meet with Jody on the rest of the roads, but for today, I will make a motion that we contribute the $6,069 to all of the ditching that has to occur on K Road, 10th Road, all the way out to M35 as needed. It can fall flat. It's just my motion.
Okay, any more? We have Support? Support. Motion and support, any more discussion? If not,
I'd
all,
like a roll call, please.
okay,
Jane,
No,
Amanda,
Yes,
Steve, I'm sorry, Bob,
Yes.
Steve,
yes.
and Debbie abstain.
But Steve, can we get with Jody either
Yeah,
before?
I'll, try to get a hold and see when he can come.
and I'd like to put a, make it a public meeting, so the public.
Yeah, we'll just make it a.
And have their
special
concerns
meeting on our
first.
own, and, we'll see what, then
I know
I'll,
we're all gonna have crazy schedules, but if, so it has to be the next board meeting, that's fine. But if we can get ahead of it, I'd like to, just cause timing, I'm gonna.
yeah, we'll try to do it.
Well, if we're gonna have a special meeting and have a public, we need to post that way.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
Yeah, but I mean, maybe we should, hopefully we would have at least some time so we could get the word out there on our website or put an ad.
oh, yeah,
or whatever
we'll have to
do
make
let
this,
them know.
you know, at least a couple of weeks in advance, or see what his schedule is for.
He may not be available till our next board meeting,
Yeah.
and that's what it is, but we're not committing any other road money at this point tonight. We'll keep.
Now, I have to say, if you get complaints, I'm sure Steve, you get complaints, I get complaints, Debbie, if you get
Yeah.
complaints, come in. If you can remember who those people are, call them and say, get to this meeting,
Yeah,
you know, once we get set. Have them voice your concerns.
Honestly, I get a lot of road calls and they just tell me.
call Steve.
Yeah,
I
Well-
did call you.
it's a very, you know, it's a big concern in the township, and every township's the same.
You know- You know, another thing too is Christine Williams. Our county commissioner, she has been working with Jody on this subject. Ever since our last meeting, almost, I shouldn't speak for her, but I almost felt like she was appalled at the amount of money that we've paid the county over the last 15 years. And so I gave her all of the QuickBooks invoices so she can see what we paid for, and she was meeting with Jody on it, so I really, we really should speak with her and see where where the outcome of that was with the county as well, with the county road commissioner, I should say.
Yeah, I can contact her, see if she's in contact with him too.
Oh, sorry, I was moving on. That's your job. I'll shut up.
Okay, we move on to item B, endless.
And
communication.
in the essence of time, can you guys just review this for next time? Can we leave it on?
Yep.
I'm gonna say both. Yep. You can read and infer what it's about, but we can talk about it next month.
Okay. Item C, Superior Trade Zone membership. That's an issue that we could also table. because,
Okay.
What basically is going on, Delta and Marquette counties formed an organization, Superior Trade Zone. City of Escanaba, City of Marquette, and then two counties were paying for the expenses ever since it started. Well, last year they made a decision. Every township that would want to participate in the organization would have to pay too, and we got sent a bill this year for $500. And, they sent some material, we can all read through it and see if we think it's worth our while to be a member of that or not. Then item D, elections, new equipment.
Just a heads up, we're gonna have to replace all of our election equipment by the next presidential election, so it's gonna cost between $15,000 and $20,000. So we might wanna, earmark some, funds for that. I know we have a budget this year that we aren't gonna need. I don't know, those don't carry over, right, Amanda?
Nope.
Okay, so somehow we're gonna have to earmark some money on the next budget. For 2026 and 2027.
We're just gonna make a note at budget time not to compare to what we spent this year, but you'll remember.
Yep, oh yeah.
Yeah, and is there something like this year, we could spend it on to buy,
I wish there was.
yeah.
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 But there's
we can
not.
Use what we have this year to buy whatever we
We
need.
will be going to a new type of a poll book eventually, by presidential election. You know, when you go in to vote, you sign that little slip and you put your address and all that on there. Well, they will be eliminating that, and you just scan your driver's license on the poll pad. And all of your information comes up, and then the poll worker flips it over. And your signature area you sign, and there you go. It's gonna be a lot simplified, but it's gonna cost us some money. The last set of equipment that was purchased, our tabulator and all that was done through a grant. They don't anticipate any grants for this one at this time.
We could,
They want us to plan ahead, and if possible, I'd love to have 2 sets, because I'd love to have an early counting board on the absent voters, because we have about 800 absent voters. And we have to put them all through the tabulator on election day. We can't do them early. Unless we have another set of equipment. Anyway, just letting you know.
hey, item E, pancake breakfast.
Oh, I just was hoping we had any estimates or anything on costs
And it
to vote on.
should be less than 1,500 for supplies, food supplies.
And then what do you need for startup cash?
I have that.
Oh, okay. So,
So we are going ahead with it, Brian?
I guess so, if you guys are gonna do
so would that cover it then up to 1,500?
Well, I mean, we need to know what that is.
it for the food and supplies, the hall rental is free, they donate that to us every year.
So can we,
The food is all ordered from the Highlands, they get it through Cisco,
but don't you
separate
get,
stuff donated from us, so.
cause you get some food donated, don't you?
Yes, the sauces are donated from Porter Republic. Pretty much everything else we went through, Highland to order through Cisco.
And how much was it last time, do you remember, that you paid the Highland?
That was like 1,100 or something like that, so.
So can we,
It varies,
Like
sometimes-
donated cash too from businesses?
I haven't gotten any.
that would be.
I got one check from for $500 turned in tonight from Highline Internet for a sponsorship for breakfast.
So technically that would go in the account. So if we donate up to 1,500, that would include the 500. Really, it's only 1,000. Can we make a motion to go up to spend up to 1,500 on the breakfast? Is that something we can do?
To the Highland, yeah, it sounds like
To
it's
the
a Highland bill, yeah.
Right, to the Highland.
Yeah, we have sure have to do a bill first from the Highland. I already asked them if they could invoice or we could pay it later, and she said she doesn't have a problem with that.
Okay, and that would come out of the fundraising fund.
Yes. Or, yeah,
The fundraising.
from the. It would be
Cost.
net profits from the pancake breakfast itself technically, but yeah, yeah.
But what about the sponsorship? That will come off of it?
Well, I think if.
Basically, in the past, we threw that in like as a donation, that was included in the donation amount, because people come in and they'll keep the extra change or whatever, and we throw it in a donation can. So any checks that we got for as donations went into a donation jar, and those were included in donation total and part of the breakfast, but it was under donations.
So that would go under the expense.
Expense.
Yeah,
It would go towards the expense, is that what you mean?
Well, that would go on the report, it'd be like,
Huh, I'm sorry.
Don't have the two together, in other
Right.
words,
right,
No.
just approve the 15.
you need this for the breakfast, you need this for the big sale, you need this for donations.
and that'll be all after, but what the board needs to do tonight is make a motion to approve the cost of the pancake breakfast. Under the assumption that a single person comes, it's a cost we have to agree to.
I made the motion
Unrelated,
up to,
okay.
I made the motion up to 1,500.
Okay,
Need a support? I'll support, I guess. Any more discussion? If not, all in favor?
I,
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Approved.
The only other thing about pancake breakfast, Steve, is I don't know how it works, but you're the other bonded person on the board. Are you gonna be there on Sunday?
I'll be there, yeah.
So either we need to set up the table so that I take baked goods money and door money, or I'll need you to take baked goods money, and I'm sure you'd rather be serving food. So I'm hoping we can
Yeah.
set it up where we can do both.
Not everybody on the board is bonded.
Debbie's not available and Dennis isn't available.
No, but the trustees are bonded.
I don't
No,
know.
just the clerk.
Yeah.
The clerk, the treasurer, the supervisor, and their deputies.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm bonded, but I don't feel as though I should be there that day.
No, that's fine. I just thought, I didn't know that Bob and I were not.
No.
I didn't know how that worked.
Yeah.
But if you can set a table up, Amanda, where you can do the pancake breakfast and the little hash marks like you were gonna do.
Yeah,
And then just peel the stickers or write down the price of the baked goods on a separate piece. of
Yeah, I'm just
paper.
saying- positioning, if it's convenient for them to come out of there and pay for baked goods and come in here and pay for that, so that's just what we'll have to do, so that you don't have to.
One spot, baked goods and people come in, it's not.
Well, I think
It's too busy, you gotta line up out the door and then you're gonna have people standing there waiting to pay for the baked goods and you got a constant line going out the door for people coming in, so. That's not gonna work to have them paying all at the same spot.
What is your job there that day, Steve?
usually I cook eggs. Not cooking, I mean, if we have to switch things around. What's that?
Someone else would have to cook the eggs. I even have an eggs with the price.
Hopefully, yeah.
Price of eggs, I don't know if we have to cut that off within you, I don't know.
But you still need another, you got two
To what?
people?
Why do you need three?
No, well, cause if baked goods selling had to be in a separate spot, then somebody else has to take that money.
And we don't take the door. So-
Right, yeah, if Steve willing, I didn't know if Steve would want to, that's. Okay,
What I can do too, I could always check with, Angela, see if they would bond someone for a day, you know, you could bond Jane for a day or something, if he would. I'd have to call him and ask him.
Either way, we will make it work.
Yeah, we'll make it work somehow, we'll figure it.
I think it's easier to find someone else to cook eggs, Steve.
Yeah.
At least for the busy part, once the baked goods dies down, we might.
Yeah. Well, we'll make it work somehow.
I can't cook, so I will not be cooking eggs. So you know, one more.
Yep, Burkhardt final bill.
Yeah, well, I would like to speak on that real quick, just to give you some background. So about a year ago, we got a bill from Mr. Burkhart for about $19,000. And in there, he says, I intend to offer a discount in favor of the township, but this matter is not yet done, so I will address that when it's finally over. So I've been holding on to all of those invoices and that statement since May 17th of 2024. So all of a sudden, we get a bill in the mail last week for 13,000 and some change, 13,712. And some of the dates on these two sets of bills are overlapping. The services aren't overlapping, but the dates are. So I don't understand why he would bill us for, say, something, I'm just giving an example here, of his dates in June, and then turn around a year later and give us other dates in that same month. So I don't feel as though these bills are accurate enough. Maybe they're accurate, but I don't feel as though they've been explained. And I think that Joe Kaplan is right. I think we need some explanation from the attorney of exactly what we're being billed for. I can also take this as the 13,000 is what we owe, and we don't owe the 19,000. But then it shows it being past due on the statement, so the whole thing makes absolutely no sense. And I'm not for paying it the way it is.
It almost reads like the 19,000 is discounted to 13, but then there's not enough overlap. But this right here, encloses interim bill, I intend to offer a discount in favor of the township. I would like to see that discount in writing with like parenthetical sides of negative balances applied to this,
Right,
and then a new total.
and when I got the 13,000, I shouldn't say when we got the $13,000 bill, I thought, oh, okay, it's all over, we got a final bill of $13,712.50. But,
Which was a reduction from the 19, but it
But it
looks like
also
it's both.
but it shows both,
I know,
like we owe $34,000. Which is
I'm reading it.
unacceptable in especially, and I'm sorry, but. When he talks about all the research he does. He didn't do that research. I did. Numerous times.
Call it asked.
I do not, it's not my place, Jane. It's a board decision, not mine.
To call and ask to explain the bill.
That's not my place. It's a board decision.
I agree, we need an explanation exactly of what he's discounting and what he's not.
Or if he even did it. It
Or-
doesn't appear to me that there was even a
It's the
discount
same,
on there.
it's the same amount to the penny, the 19,300.
It shows it on the latest statement, both of them. The 13 and the 19.
Right,
What's the agreed upon hourly rate, or is there an agreed?
He has his hourly rates.
no, but I think what Bob's asking
He's
is.
billing at $2.75 an
Yeah.
hour, but I don't know if that matches up with what we agreed to. This goes back quite a while and everything is at the same price, and so I didn't know if some of that older
None of
stuff
it makes
should have
any
been at a
sense.
lower rate.
Some of it, I, for one, don't even know what it's for. It's not all for that case. A resolution ratification issue.
We'll need more info on how it's not paying it, like
Yeah.
today.
I guess that's. Do we need a vote on that or?
No. Unless you wanna pay it, then you'll need to vote on it.
So is someone gonna contact them, Steve, is that you, or who's gonna contact them to say we need an explanation?
I can, maybe I'll get together with you on that one, Debbie, and we'll sit
You know,
down and have.
here's another one, perfect example. This was a FOIA request. We had, and just to give you some history here, okay? We had I know it's late and I know you want to get home, but we had a special meeting where Attorney Burkhart and us went into closed session. It was the only thing in that meeting. We came out, we ended the meeting, and we had a resident here that FOIA'd what happened in our meeting with the attorney. And of course, that's attorney-client privilege. So Steve turned it into the attorney to let him handle it. He charged us $632 to write a letter saying it's attorney-client privilege. All of these invoices are this
Yeah,
way.
that's.
It's robbery, in my opinion, but. Anyway. I think each invoice should be gone through with him in public with the board.
We should have him come to a meeting and explain it all.
Maybe we should have a special meeting just for that, because it's gonna take.
Or you
time.
and Steve can go down there and just talk to them. I'm sorry.
Well, we can.
I'm just kidding.
Get together, we'll talk to him.
It's almost 10 o'clock.
He's
so I'll let
retired,
that go.
well.
We'll figure it out and make sure we get some explanations. A public comment?
It's okay.
Lori with 3744 Elm Point 15 Lane, Assiniboine. I just want to say this story to Steve to say that our parks manager, Steve Weary, and Mary Harrington, who is on the board for District 3 of the parks, have resigned.
Any more public comment? If not, more to come. Just like everybody just said, we need township members assigning the dust control for the. Somebody besides the clerk and the supervisor.
Make Bob enter into the agreement.
Great over here.
Any other board comment? If not,
I make a motion to adjourn.
okay, morning. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Who seconded that?
Oh.
Bob did. Just say it, Bob.